Welcome to episode 25 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's March 13th, 2024, and I'm here, Taylor Kodaks, and we've got
Ravenheart, Rick.
And this is a very special 25th episode, and we wanted to kind of commemorate it by talking about some 25th anniversaries. And so we brought in a special guest to help us do that today. You know him. He's friend of the show. Introduce yourself.
So it's Sam, Geocode 7.
Sam, Geocode 7. He's back in the house.
Great to be back.
Not his first time on the...
No, it's great to be with both of you guys, actually.
Yeah, I know. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into, the topics we've kind of got specially prepared for the day, we'll go over our usual stuff. What have we been playing, guys?
Nothing.
Just Pokemon Go. That's been the only big thing.
All right, what have you been doing in Pokemon Go?
Getting through that that research stuff. Is
the Masterwork.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Masterwork research.
Masterwork research, yes.
Right, so I guess you'd say I've been playing that too.
There you
okay.
go. Yeah.
So this Masterwork research, we got it for going to the Pasadena Go Tour.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think people could buy it separately for like $5.
Yes.
Yeah.
They could.
And that was for the global event the weekend
Which
after?
is the same as it was with the previous one.
Yes, I know. I don't know if it's the true for this one, but if you went to the in-person event, you got an easier version of the Masterwork research. I don't know if they did that again this year or if it's just identical for everyone this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the first step, we have to capture, or like players who have the Masterwork research have to capture 492 Pokemon from the first 4 generations. So almost 2,000 Pokemon you have to capture before you can move on to the next step. And this research, by the way, is meant to be really, I don't know about challenging, but it's meant to take you a long time so that you can get a shiny Shaman.
Right. The Masterwork research always gives a shiny mythical.
Right. The first one was Mew.
Mm-hmm. And then Celebi.
Shiny Celebi actually came from that movie tie-in event.
Really? You sure?
Yeah, it did.
Well, Jirachi then was the next one.
Jirachi.
And this one's Shaman.
Yeah, I think the Masterwork research for Johto was Shadow Ho-Oh and Shadow Lugia.
Oh, that's right.
There was no shiny for that one.
I think maybe you're right.
But so where are you guys at? Have you guys completed the first step yet?
No.
I have Johto left, and I think I have like 30 more to go or something.
Okay, so you're really close then. Hoenn was the one that was taking me the longest.
Really?
But there was a brief event, I think a weekend or two ago, where there was a lot of like Plusle and Minun.
Oh,
spawning.
yeah, that was the charge-up event.
Yeah, so I got caught up there with Hoenn.
Yeah.
So I'm actually on step 2.
Oh.
So what is it?
Okay, yeah. Come on, let's tease it.
So step 2, it's not challenging, but it is time gated because you have to capture a Pokemon on 15 different days.
Oh,
okay.
So basically, it's just stalling you for half a month.
Right.
The other 2 researches were like, I don't know, get hearts with your buddy, or like capture 10. I don't know. It was capture 10 different grass types.
Okay.
And then capture a Pokemon 5 days in a row, or something like that.
Okay.
And then the other one is just 15 days. It doesn't have to be in a row. So you could miss a day.
Oh, okay.
And then like it wouldn't lose that streak or anything like that.
I swear we better not get another Rocket challenge again.
Oh, I got a notification that they're coming back.
Oh yeah, there's a new event coming up, yeah. I mean, hopefully it's not part of the Masterwork research.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like beat the Giovanni 1,000 times or something crazy like that. But
I would like for them to like temporarily like retire Go Rocket and bring in some of the other bad guy teams.
Yeah,
or have them team up with them at least.
Yeah, anything. Some way to incorporate them further. Because I'm like, oh great, more Shadow
the same
Pokemon.
3
The
leaders.
Yeah, over and over again. Like Go Fest the same, or like Sinnoh Tour, Johto Tour, Hoenn Tour. It's always like you're teaming up with Team Go Rocket. Like they've done that 4 years in a row now. Like,
time for a refresh. We need a new mechanic,
you know. But I guess people like Shadow Pokemon because they're powerful and they're strong. I mean, you do have to use like an elite TM on them to get rid of frustration.
Right.
Or I guess you could just use a bunch of candy to teach it a second charged attack.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah. Or is frustration a fast attack? I can't remember.
No, it's the charged attack.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I haven't peeked ahead. I think there's someone already on step 3. I don't know. I think those details are online now, but I'm not sure anyone's gotten further than step 3 quite yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it'll probably be months. I know last year I was stuck on the Kecleon. You had to capture like 10 Kecleon or something like that.
I remember I finished it before you did, and I had to catch 10, and you only had to catch 6 or whatever.
Yeah, it was something. I got my first 5 really quickly, and then my last Kecleon took like 2 months before I encountered one. And meanwhile, my roommate, also friend of the show and chair provider, Ben, he got like 2 in a row, like one, like just being at home one day at the Pokestop that's nearby our place. Like just some day I was out, he was like, "Oh man, there was 2 here. You missed out."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh great,"
because I've had a hard time finding them too as well. It's like even when I actually do diligently play and try.
I've only seen 1 since I completed that research. Like.
I catch them all the time.
Oh, okay.
It actually, like, I transfer them now.
Okay, you're like, I don't need them. They're worthless. Okay, so yeah, I've been continuing to play Cyberpunk, and I am just, I'm 100%ing this game. I mean, as much as I possibly can.
You're right.
Like in terms of like completing all the side gigs, jobs, mission, police assault, reports of assault, like all of that stuff. I'm going to do all of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, every minute of this game, I'm just so completely immersed in it. Mm-hmm. I've never, like, it's taking over me.
Are you keeping your items, like, collected in your, like, storage thing? Like, mine are all, I have, like, every shirt, like, lined up.
No, because of the way the transmog thing works, like, it just... It lets you have access to the visual identity of the shirts and things.
Yeah,
clothing.
I'm talking about your storage.
Right. No, I'm not bothering to store every single thing because you can get duplicates of a lot of the items. I've noticed.
Yeah. So then those you can disassemble or sell.
Well, because the transmog allows you to essentially still access that appearance, I don't really see the need to keep them in the inventory because it's almost like there's a separate inventory for the clothing now.
Yeah.
Like once you've collected it once, you have that appearance for your character unlocked permanently.
Right.
So I don't know. I just haven't felt. I mean, I'm not collecting every single gun. I'm trying to collect as many of the unique guns and swords and different weapons, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, all the ones that have like a special little like. I don't know. It's like over the eye. There's like a sheen on the item,
right?
And like they have a unique look. Like regular enemies aren't going to drop them. Things like that. I am trying to collect those, but for just like the average items that you can just find anywhere on any enemy, I'm not bothering.
Gotcha.
Again, like I said, you can't 100% this game in that kind of way, so I'm not going to worry about it.
You can't max out everything on your character either,
right? But yeah, just in terms of like the actual like points of interest on the map, I want to do as much of that as I possibly can. And I hear that the DLC for the game is like really worth playing. The Phantom Liberty expansion that came out.
I haven't downloaded it.
No, it's $30.
Yeah.
And it just adds like one new district to the map.
Really?
Dogtown, I think it's called.
Okay.
But apparently it's like chock full. Like whereas like a lot of the city kind of feels like a facade in the base game. Like you see these huge skyscrapers, but you can't go to like every floor of the skyscraper. Apparently this like Dogtown thing is more like there's a hyper detail in like this part of the town. So it's like kind of a preview of maybe like what to expect from like a future Cyberpunk game.
Cool.
So yeah, I will eventually get around to that. Hopefully it goes on sale sometime soon because I am nearing the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm kind of almost at the point of no return.
Yeah.
Where like then you have to make like choices that like drastically affect.
Yeah.
I'll probably make a save that I can load up and like explore the other endings from rather than replay the game five times.
The guide that I have has a whole flow chart of like that kind of thing. If you want to borrow it, you can.
I think I've found something.
Okay.
Now, how many different possibilities are there within these?
I mean, I haven't beaten it, but from what I've seen with the trophies for the game, it looks like there's like 5 different like hard endings, and then there's sort of variations of all these endings based on like other little things that you've done in the game. But there's like, and then certain endings kind of have restrictions behind it as well. Like you need to have like befriended Keanu Reeves' character to, or you had to have like been more agreeable with him throughout your playthrough to get Johnny Silverhand. That's his character's name. To sort of like get one of his endings.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of mindful of that to make sure I'm not like totally blocked out of choosing that as a choice. And so yeah, but before I go to like the mission that kind of begins the end of the game, even though I understand you can continue playing the game after.
Yeah, it's a whole new game plus type stuff.
Right. I think it just spits you back out on the map, and you can just like do everything. Or is it like a hard end, like it's over?
I'm pretty sure there's credits.
Oh yeah, there's credits.
And then you come back out of your apartment, just like, you
right.
would save. And I think Jack is there.
Oh, okay.
Jack is back or whatever to start the game again.
Oh, really?
I think that's how it works.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, I definitely want to try to do as much of that before I go to the ending, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And I understand that the DLC technically doesn't take place post-game. It takes place like chronologically during the main game.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of wrap up everything in the main game, all the little points of interest, and then start the DLC, and then finally go into the end of the main game again.
Yeah.
Because I believe there's even a new ending that you can get access to
with that
because of the DLC.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, so Cyberpunk, I'm just completely engulfed by it. Unfortunately, my playtime is gonna like fall off a cliff really shortly because I've got trips coming up and memorial services to go to. Family's gonna be in town.
The exploring though, like don't pass up the opportunity to just like lose yourself in rooftops because you find bodies and stuff that
there's
like
Easter eggs and stuff I haven't come across yet, and I know that there's like you can get like all of Johnny's Keanu Reeves' characters like all of his gear because the game basically Johnny Silverhand was someone like 50 years prior who was like a big deal, and so there's a reason he's a part of the game going in like the game that you're playing. That one other thing I discovered is it is not like an alternate version of like, it's not like the game is set in the year 2077, right? It's called Cyberpunk 2077, and it's set on the border of northern and southern California in this place called Night City. Right. I did a little more research into like where it was at and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I mean, it is heavily inspired by LA. It does feel like. I mean, there's like even like a sort of pseudo Hollywood sign kind of thing in one area.
And you have like South Bay, and like you clearly have like the districts within LA.
There's a lot of LA influence for sure, but LA I guess is still its own thing.
Separate from Night City.
Like it's not like LA is gone and Night City took its spot.
Gotcha.
But it's so like because there's a point where the game flashes back to 2023, and like people have cybernetic stuff, so it's not like an alternate. It's not like a future version of like our world.
It's a different alternate reality.
It's like a whole new alternate reality to begin with.
Gotcha.
So that was one thing that was like, oh, okay, so like this is something that's been around for a long time,
Right.
I mean, maybe there's a certain point in like world history where cyberpunk has its timeline. Maybe it goes back to like the 50s or 60s or 70s where everything was like parallel to what we're what we've experienced, but then become cyberpunk land. But
or I know, like you guys brought up before, like the whole steampunk idea. Maybe it's just a run on from that whole era.
Yeah.
What, Sam?
Well, no, like the whole steampunk, movement.
I mean, it does feel based in like a realness.
That would be like Victorian era.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that's where it kind of deviated from, and it's that storytelling of like, what if we kept on that same trajectory of steampunk?
Yeah, I mean, sure, maybe.
I mean, I'm speculating and talking.
I mean,
crazy,
there's not a lot of steam related technology.
Well, but imagine now build it to the 21st century, 22nd century.
Okay.
Like where are we kind of going with that? So,
sure. Steampunk.
Speculating, by the way, just totally speculating.
Steampunk is what's called retro-futuristic,
right?
And as is cyberpunk,
right?
As well as diesel punk and others, clock punk.
So you would say cyberpunk is retro-futuristic?
I
would say it's almost futuristic.
It's like 80s futuristic.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's like a lot of like Blade Runner inspiration going on in cyberpunk,
and
for sure.
CD Projekt Red didn't invent cyberpunk. No. That started with it always starts in literature with books like Mona Lisa Overdrive and some others that were like the first to start that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last episode they specifically based like the cyberpunk game off of a specific person's kind of take on the cyberpunk
some
vision.
Artist
So anyways, I just continue to be, fully involved, and just like when I'm playing, it's like the hours just like I spent this entire weekend, my girlfriend was out of town, and I just no-lifed it on my couch, like really. Like, I haven't done something like that with a game in a long time. Like, normally I'll play a game for like 3 hours and I'm like, okay, I need to step away. I need a break. I need to go walk or something. Mm-hmm. This, I was like 7 a.m. when I woke up till midnight at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my first couple weeks of playing the game were like that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you can just get exploring.
Yeah.
Run into like some shootout, and from there you don't know where you're at, and then you just keep walking. And
Have you spent time in like the desert area?
Not the desert.
Oh, okay.
Like I know off to like the east side of the map is all like
this huge
just open desert.
Yeah.
I've not been there, but I know some of the like districts I've been to are very like a lot of open lots, chain link fences, abandoned vehicles.
Okay.
Not like the inner city kind of environment that you see in like Watson and stuff.
I did encounter the romance system.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I believe it's 2 guys and 2 girls or something.
Okay, I have only encountered the 2 girls. I have no idea where these 2 guys are.
Okay.
But here's the thing. One of the girls is straight and one of them is gay.
Right. So that's how it works.
You can't romance
So you're either male or female character.
Right.
So you can either be gay or you can be straight.
Right. You can either romance the straight person or the bi person.
Right.
I guess. Or no, I don't think there are bi characters.
I don't think so.
Yeah. They're just coded one way or the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, the person who's gay, you can form like a strong friendship with them. Mm-hmm. And like there are some moments that this game does like let you hit on them if you want. I like saved my game just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
And then they like totally like what are you doing? That kind of a thing. But yeah, so I don't know. It was interesting. I was kind of shocked. I thought for sure they were going to code the gay characters as being bi. I thought for sure, because I'm sure. Well, I've heard that apparently on PC people have modded the game, of course, to let them romance whoever they want.
Yeah.
But
I think it's kind of underwhelming that there's only 4 characters.
I mean, it seems like there could be I will say that they're characters who are incorporated into the story pretty heavily. Mm. So it makes sense from that perspective. Yeah. I mean, you can go around and there's prostitution as a thing in the game.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Like a mechanical thing or just something you see?
Like you can engage with prostitutes.
I know
that's your thing. I haven't.
The no-tell hotels and stuff are everywhere. Yeah. But I didn't see anything in there. other than like dead bodies.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, and I will say there are like cinematic sequences where the characters are engaging in coitus.
Well, you do like customize their genitals at the beginning of the game when you go through the character thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing I've never seen any male nudity.
You haven't?
No.
Okay, they must have changed the game since.
Well, I mean, no, there's like a slider for like the male genital size at the beginning of the game, but it's like behind clothing, so you don't like actually like.
Oh, mine wasn't.
Oh no!
No,
like it was just
you zoomed in,
wow.
Okay, well, I don't know what it is, but Anyways, there's this one scene where you're kind of in a flashback as Johnny, and he's like meeting up with someone after his gig, and like.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like they were really like going. This is like steamier than like Hollywood kind of hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know. I found it very surprising how apparently this kind of thing is okay in games, but like I don't know if you have like a cartoony anime game, they get like censored by Sony.
Yeah, that is
it's a total double standard.
This happens in games, depending on how your art style looks.
Yeah.
And that's some BS.
Oh, realistic art style? Go for full genitalia.
Yeah, like that's fine. Like I don't know. Like your audience has to revolve around your art style, like your audience's age. I mean.
Yeah,
No, that's not how that works.
Anyways, yeah, I found that perplexing. Either like Sony is like different now than they were, 5-6 years ago when they were censoring like Japanese games.
Yeah.
Or they've just
Senran Kagura.
They've just really loosened their grip entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, they are publishing that new Stellar Blade game, which does seem to be kind of emphasizing the physical appearance of the female lead character.
Right.
So,
it's like that's his shtick.
Yeah. So I don't really know. Like Sony seems to not. They can't make up their mind. I guess what they want to go for.
Well, they've changed leadership since that happened with Senran Kagura.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean it's not just Senran. Like certain visual novels won't even get published on PlayStation just because. And it's not even like there's even nudity. There's just like implied nudity even.
My theory is that they, at least at the time, were worried about sales in China or release in China. Maybe,
yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons they could have been proactive about the censorship.
Right.
But anyways, it's just interesting to see that Sony kind of pivoting away from that and maybe embracing more of that now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cyberpunk came out with all this content back when it did,
right?
So
that was 2020,
right?
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Then, I mean, but Sony wasn't publishing that, but like the Stellar Blade game, Sony is actually like publishing it,
right,
on behalf of the Korean developer,
right?
And so, I mean, they're just embracing the TNA, so to say,
which is fine with me. I don't want censorship of anything. I don't.
How do you feel about that Geocode 7?
No, I mean, it's an art form at the end of the day, so I mean, it's what you make of it, I agree.
If a certain game is not for you...
Yeah, then don't play it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you stop the other person if they want to play it.
Yeah, stop art
from
being made.
Anything else we want to talk about what we've been playing? Or,
No.
All right, well, I've got an unboxing.
Ooh.
Yes.
So... I have here the Unicorn Overlord Monarch Edition, still sealed. I'm going to take that cellophane off right now. Undressing the box. All right, so Unicorn Overlord, for those of you that don't know, is Vanillaware's newest game. Vanillaware, the creator of Miramasa Rebirth, Princess Crown,
Miramasa the Demon Blade
for Wii, and just 13 Sentinels, which came out a couple of years ago, and just a whole bunch of games. And they're known for having like a really distinct visual art style. Their games are all 2D art on top of more 2D art typically, and they're just visually a sight.
a puppet animation, 2D puppet animation.
And they do it like no one else does. Like there are imitators out there, and like the actual animation that they do for these games, they have to draw these characters like hundreds of times to get like the animations like so smooth and fluid as they are. Yeah. Whereas like you see like these imitator kinds of people and or these imitator studios of Vanillaware, and like the animations are like super choppy. Like they just, I mean, I get it. Not everyone has that kind of budget that maybe Vanillaware has access to. You know, Atlas is publishing their games more recently.
I mean, it's about talent too, not just budget.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, time does play a factor.
Yeah, I know. But people talk about budget a lot, like, oh, the budget determines the quality. I think the talent, it gets, you know, swept under the rug a little bit.
Oh yeah, no. Vanillaware, like, I feel that I need to protect them at all costs.
Yeah,
I buy all of their games. Day one, if they have a special edition, I'm buying the special edition. Yeah. I worry about them. Because if they go away, like, artistry dies.
No, not quite. But
it's like the day the music died.
They are up there.
I think it'd be a big blow basically to the industry at that point.
I mean, you know, their games are fairly niche. They're not like mega monster hits, you know, like they have been getting bigger in more recent years, more mainstream attention. And this game reviewed really, really well.
Yeah.
But real quick, back to the unboxing. So I have the PS5 version. The Monarch Edition comes in this fairly large box, and it has a slip cover around it, which I just slid off, which has the majority of, or a lot of the cast of the game. I understand there's 70 recruitable characters in this game. It's a tactical kind of RTS-ish. It's not quite Fire Emblem, where it's like... it's kind of real-time tactics, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But you do go into like sort of Fire Emblem-like battles where things play out based on stats and weapons and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So is it real-time strategy or is it tactical RPG?
It's not grid-based or anything like that. It's not like bide your time and think about every move for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. You do have to like think on your feet a little more, is my understanding of it.
Okay. So things are moving in real time.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now there is, where most of your strategy comes into play is before the battle starts, is my understanding.
Okay.
So like I think you have time to like examine things and sort of plot things out, and you kind of like set AI parameters for the characters, and you can like combine units in different ways or like add to their like squad, and then you can control them, but then like when they go into battle, it's like Fire Emblem, where it's just going to play out however fate has decided that interaction between those two characters is going to play out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it does have a huge cast of characters. There are missable characters similar to Fire Emblem. I heard people compare it to what's the Ogre Battle game on 64?
Ogre Battle,
Am I just
Person of Lordly Caliber, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's the
so
one.
Yeah, people are comparing it kind of as a hybrid between that and Fire Emblem.
Okay.
There is no permadeath. So like if your character falls in battle, they're not lost forever.
Okay.
Although I do understand there is like a hard mode that you can unlock after you beat the game that does unlock a permadeath difficulty if you're into that. If you're a masochist. So let's open this box up though. Okay, so on the front we've got this nice embossed cover. It's got more artwork from the team at Vanillaware. And it's got, I think this is Vanillaware's, oh no, it's not their seal, but it's got a unicorn on it. Probably some kind of seal from the game. And I believe this is a magnetic box, a magnetic latch. So this is pretty nice. And what's special about the Monarch Edition is that it doesn't just come with one game. It comes with two.
Ooh.
So, of course, we have the actual video game itself, Unicorn Overlord on PlayStation 5. Doesn't really seem like there's anything in here but the disc itself, although there might be a little code, I think.
Oh, there's a resale thing on there as well, too.
No, so. It doesn't say not for resale. Yeah, so this is one of those exceptions where it doesn't say not for resale. So anyways, this is the main game itself. After I play Cyberpunk, this is my next game. And then I'm going to pull off this little thing where the game was sitting in. And now we have the Unicorn Overlord 16-bit arranged music album. And can I borrow that pen again?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to take off some more cellophane here. Get that good old noise that everyone loves. Definitely just when you take
the sound of satisfaction when you open up a new game like that.
And so I believe this is like an arranged version of the music. I don't think it's the default music from the game. It's like a special album that they just put out.
And it's 2 disc in that sleeve there.
2 disc, yep.
So original music?
Yeah, I think you might be able to change the in-game music to the 16-bit music.
Oh, okay.
But there is like a full, like, you know, Vanillaware expected soundtrack from Basicscape, I believe is the name of the company that does their music. And so we've got 2 discs, one red, one blue. It's got little pixel silhouette characters on the cover of each album. And yeah, pretty straightforward. You know, it's not a jewel case soundtrack. It's made of like a paper and it folds open, but it's got more art on it, and you know, very nice. And then we've got the art book. The Unicorn Overlord art book, softcover art book, fairly thick.
Oh, wow.
It's got 130 pages in it, and
spoilers.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I mean, you know, I don't know how much of this is spoilers, but let me just see if there's like some. I want to show Sam like some environmental backgrounds. So you can just kind of see how gorgeous the art is in these
really,
games.
really gorgeous.
And that's like their signature. Like their backgrounds are hand painted, like paintings.
Yeah.
Like digital paintings.
Yeah,
they're not doing that on canvas.
No.
But yeah, they're just absolutely gorgeous. And then the character designs, which I can jump to as well, are also pretty nice.
Kind of walking you through the different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they go through all the characters, but. Seems like some of the characters they do highlight a little more than the others. Maybe they're more key characters to the story.
Almost like the different battle positions as well.
I think these are the 2 main protagonists. We have Elaine and Scarlet. And it's got. I guess I don't know if there's English voice acting for this game or not. I want to say I read that there was, but it only features the Japanese voice actor in the book. Maybe they didn't have the English cast lined up before they had to start producing the art book. Okay, but the real big main thing that I wanted this Monarch Edition, aside from just supporting Vanillaware, is the second game that it comes with. And it's not a PS5 game, it's not a video game. It is an exclusive card game unique to the Monarch Edition. And this was made in partnership with Vanillaware. They did all the art for the cards.
And also, basically, it's its own box within there, so it contains all that.
Yes. And so I believe there's 4 decks, 3 or 4 decks, and it's actually like a tabletop game.
Oh.
And so there's instruction. Wow, there's actually a cool little comic that Vanillaware must have made to like teach you how to play and how to set up. Yeah, it looks like there can be up to 4 players. So anyways, yeah, I actually really want to check this out and play it. It's got a rule book. And yeah, this is not something that will be sold separately.
Yeah.
So Vanillaware's first card game. Yeah, let me just pull one of these decks out and kind of flip through it real quick. So I'm guessing each of the decks are color-coded. That would probably help make things easier. Yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know if you like everyone builds a deck prior or if it's like everyone uses a single deck. It looks like that must be how it works. Although I feel like
Yeah, it looks like they're separated for a reason.
Yeah, they are separated for the reason, but they're like different sizes. Like the sizing isn't matching up.
And of course, you have on the actual gameplay mat right here.
There might be different types of cards within the game.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'll have to investigate how it plays, and I don't know, maybe one of these days we can check it out. So yeah, that's the Vanillaware Unicorn Overlord Monarch Edition unboxing, and I'm gonna need a minute to pack this up. So can you 2 riff for a second?
So, I'll just move right into my Seraphim Weekly update.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And so last week I talked about how I was separating out the pause menu. it's still completely on the surgery table. It's not back together enough to work without errors, but I have been going through the pause menu, and the way I'm doing it is like when you pause the game, the pause menu actually instantiates or spawns, if you use gamer terms. And then from there, each option within the pause menu, ones that need it, that aren't just resume or quit, but like if you go to the options and stuff like that, I'll then instantiate a separate game object that will have the data for language option or sound volume or I guess frame rate. I'm gonna try to get it. The game has been locked at 60 frames a second so far.
Okay.
Its entire life, and that's because some things within the game run in a void update, which means that they count frames for like interpolation and stuff like that. If I can get everything running on like a time-based, code style, I'll be able to actually unlock the 60 frames per second lock that I've had on the game, and it should be able to run at 120 frames. If that happens, I'll have a frame rate option in the options menu.
So you would want a frame rate lower than 60?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It would be 60 and 120.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I wouldn't allow the game to run at 30.
Right, I was going to say, like, that would be strange to lock the game at 30, or, like, have a 30 FPS
No,
option.
It's been locked at 60 so that it doesn't jump to 120.
Right.
Because if it does, things will start feeling weird.
Yeah.
Because of, like I said, the motion and the interpolation of, like, enemy objects and just game object groups in general. Some of it is running in a function update, and others are time based. So things start moving differently from each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if I do manage, because I'm rewriting everything basically, if I do manage to get everything running just on a time based type of scheme, I can just have the frame rate be dynamic or just have the two options. The game is now instantiating the pause menu and then instantiating subsequent data game objects as needed for other options and stuff like that.
So I remember last week you said there was like more than 100 errors.
Yeah.
Have you been like...
Yeah, those are going away as I work on it.
Okay, gotcha.
Like it's mostly missing references.
Okay.
That's really, which is going to happen when you remove something
until
like
you
that.
Plug it in,
yeah.
Right?
Well, the code I wrote expects it to exist. Expects it all to exist on scene load. Now that it's instantiating, it doesn't. It doesn't exist on scene load. I'm instantiating it when you hit start.
Okay.
So now it's like, well, where's this? So yeah. But because I'm going back through the code and like rewriting it line by line, basically to reformat it this way, modularized. I'm fixing all that like one at a time. So there are still error messages, like stuff is still not quite done yet. I'm doing some visual work and stuff on the actual pause menu. I figured out how to have animation while having the game at the time scale at 0, which is crazy.
That's cool.
Because time scale is, when you set it to 0, basically, their time is moving at 0 speed.
Okay.
So, but I figured I can still run stuff in a fixed update that will allow it to count frames.
Okay.
So I can just use frames instead of time to have stuff rotate.
But then if you increase like frames per second, that would mess that up.
So what I would have to do is, if I want to have animation on the pause menu, when you pause the game, I take it to 60 or take it to something set.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then take it back up when
the game is
unpause
or something. Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Still working on that pause menu. It's still on the surgery table, but I wanted to like tell everyone a little more about how I plan on doing it.
Sure.
Instantiate the pause menu on its own, just empty shell pause menu. And then all the stuff within the pause menu can instantiate when you actually select it separately. So instantiate, like a sequence of game object groups instead of just one, breaking it down even further with the modularization. Yep. So that's my update.
All right.
Super exciting.
No, I think it's great because, again, you don't really hear about it from a developer's perspective.
Right.
How much work goes into we're just talking about the start menu, and I think Taylor brought that up last week too, where...
Like, it doesn't sound like an exciting,
like
this
thing.
No, it doesn't.
No, but at the same time, though, you don't really hear that side of the story, so it's really fascinating.
To actually have a podcast where I talk about, like, the little steps, like the pause menu and stuff like that, people can get a perspective that they normally would not, even in a book. Like, it wouldn't go into this kind of
No.
Yeah, so we'll keep following this story of the pause menu as we go forward. Is that something you foresee, like, you're going to, like, lock down the pause menu so it's, like, effectively done before you move on to, like, the next thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Otherwise, I'll overwhelm myself.
So you're just kind of, like, so you can cross it off the list when you're done.
Like, pause menu is 100% done.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to jump into some, not quite a news story, but we've got some segments here we want to go over. Because it's our 25th episode, we thought it would be fun to go back 25 years and look at some games that released in 1999 that are celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. The Silver Anniversary. Silver Jubilee.
Silver Jubilee, yeah, there you go.
And so Sam's going to start us off with the first one. These are, I believe I have them in order of, like, release date.
Okay.
So make sure you mention the console, the release date, and any memories and information we've got down here.
Okay, so the first one I think probably we can speak first thing in the room, Super Smash Brothers for N64.
Yes.
Was released in Japan January 21st. This game takes me back, It's just
who was it directed by, Sam?
Masahiro Sakurai. And I probably butchered it.
Oh my god.
I am not cultured, unfortunately.
Masahiro Sakurai.
There
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very famous game designer.
Yeah. Yes.
Known as the creator of Kirby.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Everybody's favorite little pink.
And my player choice for
Smash
Brothers.
He's essentially the main character of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Did he ever confirm that? I don't think he did.
Okay.
I think that's a fan theory.
Okay, there's a tiny piece of evidence. Well, not tiny. There's a pretty big piece of evidence toward that. At least for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I mean, fan theories always have evidence.
Right. Okay, so for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there's a single-player campaign, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's, like, this big cutscene that plays at the beginning where it shows, like, all the characters from Super Smash Bros. History basically being, like, sucked away and, like, captured by this evil power. Mm-hmm. And Kirby is the only one as he's, like, flying away on his star, escaping the, like, thing that's, like, basically chasing him, the, like, darkness or whatever. And Kirby's the only one who gets away. And you end up starting the campaign playing as Kirby.
Okay.
And then as you unlock the other characters, you can play them too.
That doesn't make Sakurai the main character.
Well, Sakurai's not the main character.
Oh, no, there's a fan theory saying that Master Hand and Crazy Hand are representations of...
No, I was saying Kirby was kind of the main character.
Oh, okay, all right.
Not Masahiro
Sakurai.
Okay,
gotcha. I gotcha.
Oh, I never thought about it. I mean, Smash Brothers has always kind of played with that idea that, like, they're little toy figures, right?
Yeah.
And that you're kind of like...
And that begins with this one, with Super Smash Brothers on the Super
Right.
64.
Yeah.
But, and then the fan theory will go into, like, how Crazy Hand is, doing... And then going into, like, Sakurai's issues with his hands, like, in real life, and how he...
See, but I don't know that Sakurai has always had issues with his hands.
No.
He's talked about that more recently.
But, I mean, that has been going on for most of the duration of the series.
Because wasn't it just Master Hand in the N64 version?
Yes.
And then in
Crazy
Melee,
Hand,
they introduced crazy hand.
Right.
Because then you have like a battle where they're like both on the
One's
screen.
a right hand, one's a left hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But yeah, so a lot of fans do think that Sakurai is like inserting himself in a way.
I always kind of saw just the hands as sort of like the human element, you know, like the human playing with the toys, you know. And the toys were like almost fighting back against.
Right, because the way I looked at it too was
I'm not representing everything.
Right.
Like,
because when I thought about the first N64 game, like I figured like, oh, the right master hand, like as you're battling the toy on your left hand as you're playing.
Yeah.
That was kind of my interpretation of it.
Okay.
But again, I guess we all have our own.
Yeah.
Theory.
I mean, it's left up to player interpretation.
No.
You know, it's not like they really explicitly explain master hand ever.
No, but I think it was kind of cool because you really didn't see that where, you know, it's like literally somebody in their room having an afternoon playing with a bunch of N64 characters.
It's in the opening.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. But like that whole idea, like concept wasn't just a straight like just fighter game going against. That was always when I was starting to play the game. That's what I thought was going to be. And then like, oh, there's a little more story behind it. It's not just like straight up, you know, Donkey Kong versus Kirby.
I mean, it also kind of like messed with me as a kid too, because I would think of these characters as like real characters in their world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like this game just pitches them to you, oh, they're just toys, you know, like
in a way.
Yeah. Like it almost like takes it like breaks kind of a fourth wall kind of thing. Right. And you know, the roster for the original N64 game was pretty small. Mm-hmm. It wasn't I think, God, was there maybe a dozen characters at most?
Well, before the unlock? Because I know you had to unlock them to get like the other...
I mean, Melee had a huge roster.
It was between 8 and 12 characters.
Yeah.
It was not a lot.
It was like Mario, Pikachu...
Samus, Link were both in there.
Yeah.
Fox was in there.
Yeah. Donkey Kong
was... Zelda wasn't in there. Was Luigi in there? I don't
know.
No.
I can't remember.
Kirby was in there.
Yeah, Kirby was in there. I'm just trying to remember because I remember when you finished the game and you unlocked the character, like the first one was Jigglypuff.
I think Bowser was.
Bowser, had to be in there.
I don't.
Yeah.
But I remember renting it from
Toad.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, for me, like, I mean, this game got... Because look, it came out in 1999, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, Super Smash Bros. Melee comes out.
Yeah.
And that, to me, kind of overshadowed N64 Super Smash Bros. In a big, bad way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like this game, I feel like it does get forgotten a little bit. You know, Melee is still, like, played competitively on, like, a big scale to this day.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much that game has had longevity. Whereas the N64 doesn't have nearly as big of like a scene around it, but still, you got to pay respect to the
original.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have anything else without that one.
No. Yeah. So,
what's the next game?
The next game we have going on here, celebrating its 25th anniversary, is Harvest Moon 64. One that is near and dear to me.
When did it release?
Okay, I'm getting there. Chill out. So, it came out in Japan in February 5th, 1999. And it's... I'm not going to do that.
Not going to follow chop.
I can try.
Okay, go ahead.
It's known... well, we should talk about the naming issue that Harvest Moon has these days.
Okay.
But it's always been known in Japan as Bokujo Monogatari, which I think means like farm life or something like that. And so the 64 game was Bokujo. Let's just call it Bokujo 2. But it was actually the third game in the series. Just a little tidbit there, because the Game Boy game, for whatever reason, didn't get considered numbered.
So over here, the Game Boy game was just called Harvest Moon,
right?
And then there was Harvest Moon 2 on Game Boy.
And Harvest Moon 3 on Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Boy Meets Girl.
Right.
That was the second one I owned.
Okay.
And then this one, Harvest Moon 64, was the first one I ever played. So
tell us about this game's influence on you.
Yeah. It like shaped a lot of like how I saw the world as a kid, like thinking. I still think about anytime I hear about farming.
Yeah.
Just in real life.
Yeah.
You know, my mind goes back to this game.
Yeah.
It is a fantasy. You got the harvest sprites.
Yeah.
You know, running around in their cave and stuff. There were, I think, 6 girls that you could woo.
Okay.
For your wife. Karen was always my choice.
Yeah.
But
barmaid.
Yeah, the barmaid. Yeah.
Even back
good
then.
memory.
But there was also Anne, who was a rancher.
Okay.
Rancher's little sister, I think.
Okay.
Maria was the librarian.
Okay.
And then several others that also later appeared in like Friends of Mineral Town and the later
They did
games.
recycle a lot of their characters, and then they kind of stopped doing that less over time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they would bring back the character designs.
Yeah. So my neighbor actually owned this game. And that was my introduction to Harvest Moon.
Did you borrow it and like never return it, or
no? I later bought it myself.
Oh, you did. Okay.
But I did borrow it from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was playing it up like you can get married and have a baby.
Yeah, as a kid, you're like,
yeah. I'm like, this is
adult.
Has adult themes in it.
I mean, it is a very romantic game in a lot of ways.
Yeah. One of the biggest aspects that really had an impact on me were the festivals, like the flower festival, and all these village festivals that they had, and the horse race, and there was a lot of that in this game.
Yeah,
I think more of that kind of thing in this game than other games.
Yeah, some games have more emphasis on the festivals than others. So for Sam, who maybe doesn't know, Harvest Moon is like a farming simulation game.
Right, I knew that much at least, yeah.
Light fantasy elements. But, fairly, aside from like the forest sprites and things, it's fairly grounded, I would say.
Yeah, in the earlier ones, you would pray to the goddess.
Yeah, the harvest goddess.
And stuff like that. And I think the harvest goddess stuck around.
There's even some games where you can like romance the harvest goddess if you pass very crazy like qualification checks and things.
So there is one game in the series called Harvest Moon for Girls, and I believe it was on PS1. I don't think it came to North America.
A lot of the games got alternate versions of like the first game. So like there was like Friends of Mineral Town, and then they made like a version for girls that they called, I think, Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town for Girls, but in the US it was just called More Friends of Mineral Town.
Yeah, that's right.
And you got to play as like the female character and like woo the male residents of the town. It nowadays you just can pick a boy or a girl at the beginning. They don't sell you the game twice anymore.
Right. I remember the mayor, like first thing when you start this game, the mayor shows up to your farm and gives you this 20-minute freaking tour of the entire village. And then it takes a whole day.
Yeah.
So now you're on like day 2 already.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. I can't remember if you could say
Was this the first game that introduced you to like an in-game clock?
Yeah, no. I would say Pokemon Silver version was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well,
Pokemon Silver version in-game clock was real-time.
Real-time,
Yeah.
Yeah. Still an in-game clock.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of, like, this game, like, gives you pressure.
Yeah.
Like, with the clock.
Right. Yeah, it does.
Because you have to manage all of your chores and errands, and, like, you got to go meet with the people you're wooing and make sure you give them gifts.
And you can't work when it rains or you'll get sick, and then you'll miss more work, and, it gets...
What a painting of reality.
Yeah, when it rains though, your crops get watered for free effectively.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you don't have, but you can't go out there chopping wood and
almost
like Sim City, there would be like natural disasters that could occur, like a tornado could go through town. I don't know if that happened in the N64 version.
I don't remember any natural
But I know there's like sometimes where you would get locked in your house, right? Like you couldn't leave because the weather was like so bad outside.
I don't remember that in this game. It might have been in there. I do remember like weird happenings. Like I remember walking up to the vineyard and like Karen has like a broken ankle, like she's on the ground.
Yeah.
Like just unexpected.
Lots of random events.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you just had to be on a Tuesday between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
You walk into this specific area.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, an hour is only one real minute.
Okay.
So it's like every day it lasts about 15 minutes or so as you play through the whole day.
Yeah.
So you really do got to keep your time management going. But you eventually get into this sort of rhythm with the game, and it just becomes like very kind of comfortable and familiar. But then they introduce like random events to kind of shake things up. Very, I don't know, like pre-Animal Crossing, it was a really impressive game, I feel.
Mm. Oh,
just in terms of its systems and the design.
Yeah, very intricate.
Lots of missables, like in terms of like little events with the characters and things.
Like if you just weren't there, you missed it.
Yeah. And then, like, if so many years go by, like, the other characters start getting married and stuff.
One of the marriageable girls moves away if you don't woo her in
the first year or two or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting.
It's like people come, people go. Yeah, like it was just a mind blowing game. Like especially as like I don't know a tween, as a child. You know, it was just kind of crazy to just introduce ideas you never thought about with a video game before.
Right.
So another game that's celebrating its 25th anniversary happens to be I love every single Final Fantasy, like to death, but Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite. I've always said it's my favorite. It's crazy. So before I get into the game, released on February 11th in Japan, directed by Yoshinori Kitase.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're good.
And he went on to develop Siren, which is another game I'd love to talk about sometime.
No, you're mixing your Japanese developers up right now.
I am. Oh, never mind. Sorry. He also directed Final Fantasy VI, which is another like massive staple Final Fantasy.
Kitase is still a huge part of the Final Fantasy team to this day.
So, when Final Fantasy VIII came out on PS1, 4 discs in the jewel case. Yeah. You'd have to install, like, put disc 1 in, and then I remember you'd get to a certain point. And this game had just some crazy events.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're going to assassinate the queen, and you and your, like, party members are on this mission on the rooftops with, like, the sharpshooter character, like, taking his aim. And, you're about to take out, like, a political leader.
Yeah.
There were other, like... I remember there was one point in the game where you are in, like, this research facility that's about to blow up. Mm-hmm. And it's a random battle system, as Final Fantasy is. You got to get out of there in 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, the battles are taking up your time.
Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of... I only remember one instance of that. But
who's the main character of 8?
Squall Lionheart.
Right.
They call him something different in Kingdom Hearts. That's wrong.
Well, they renamed a lot of the Kingdom Hearts characters, or the Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts. They give them, like, a different, like, almost like a nickname or something. Okay. Like, they were giving an alias to, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Squall Lionheart, and then Renoa... I forgot her last name, but she's the girl.
Okay.
And then, you had Irving was the sharpshooter character. Okay. He had like a cowboy hat and a like French braid. So one of the things that this game had was a card battle system. So as like a side thing, there was a card game in the game called Triple Triad, where you would collect, like, randomly enemies would drop their card. Mm-hmm. And then other characters within the game would also have cards that were obtainable through, like, doing missions for them or whatever, or found somewhere. There was one move that you could teach your character, and I can't remember what the move was called, but it would turn an enemy, it had a chance to turn an enemy into a card. Okay. So you'd be running around hunting cards. Okay. Like that was...
What you're saying is you were running around hunting cards.
Yes, very much.
I've heard this game has kind of a very weird growth system for the characters in terms of like, it's like very non-traditional.
Yeah, well, and they all change that.
But there's there's ways to exploit how it works and like kind of make yourself really overpowerful early on.
I don't know about what the internet was saying back when I was playing it. But
I've just heard people kind of be critical of it. And I actually saw there was an interview with Kitase where he said if he were to remake Final Fantasy VIII, he said he would completely change the battle system.
Yeah. I actually did really like the battle system. Yeah. And I especially liked summons and how the summons worked. you would so you'd summon Ifrit or whoever, and the summons in this game, there were like 20 of them.
Yeah.
And some of them I've never seen again. Like Doom Train is one that I've never seen again in another Final Fantasy. But you would summon like Ifrit or whoever, and then it would play their like cutscene animation for their attack. And during their attack animation, you would have to do like match the buttons on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like mash the buttons on screen, and it would change the button on you, and if you
kept mashing the other one still,
so it would like increase the percentage of damage that you were going to do, and then it would drop back down to 100%.
If you screw it up.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff in this game. It was also like both futuristic and like fantasy. What?
I was going to ask if this was the only Final Fantasy to be released on PS1.
No, heck no. Final Fantasy VII was,
okay,
and then 8 was on PS1, and then 9 was also on PS1.
Okay, I remember playing a demo of Final Fantasy back in the day for PS1. I just don't remember which one it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then didn't they port like 1 and 2 to PS1?
Yeah. So if you want to talk about every title,
never mind.
The whole episode right there.
There was Final Fantasy Origins, Final Fantasy. What was it called? Chronicles, and then 2 other compilation discs.
Okay.
There were 4. I know there were 4.
But yeah, the 3 original games were 7, 8, and 9.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Which, fun fact, that I think 7 was originally being developed for N64.
Yeah.
But Square, because Nintendo was going with cartridges, Square pivoted away because they couldn't fit the game that they wanted to make on the N64 cartridge. So with discs, they could have multiple discs so they could fit a larger game on it.
There is Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, I believe, on 64.
Okay.
Or I think it's just called Mystic Quest, but it was a Final Fantasy. Right. And it I believe its origin spawned from what you're talking about.
Okay.
So another game that's celebrating its 25th anniversary that we have to celebrate here is Silent Hill. And that released on February 24th. It was directed by Kiyoshi.
Okay, just call it Toyama.
Toyama. Yeah, we just go last name here on the Bit Beacon.
Family name, as they say in Japan.
Family name.
There you go.
Surname. He would actually go on to create Siren. I actually didn't know that it was the Silent Hill creator that made Siren. I love Siren. There's a lot to talk about with that game. And then also Gravity Rush.
Well, I don't know if you remember.
Which you played.
Yeah, I love the Gravity Rush games. But we met Toyama at E3. There's a picture of you with him.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
All right.
Yeah, he just happened to be at the Gravity Rush booth. I think E3 20 is when they were doing the PS4 port of Gravity Rush from the Vita.
Oh, yeah.
This must have been 2017 or 18, I think. And he was there, and he met with us. We got pictures. He gave us like some cool little Gravity Rush like promo items. It was like an Apple like note, or like the Post-it note.
We met Wada too, didn't we?
We did meet Wada, but Wada wasn't involved with Harvest Moon at that time.
Right.
He would come into the picture a little later.
Okay. Anyways, so Silent Hill like changed how horror, like it created survival horror.
Right.
And well, that's not fair. Alone in the Dark, I think, did.
Okay.
Because it was the first one to have like those kinds of like navigation controls and stuff like that. It was, I think, Alone in the Dark came out on. I had it on 3DO, but anyways, Silent Hill was definitely inspired by Alone in the Dark and the film Jacob's Ladder.
Okay.
Those two things, I believe, he credited as being the like main inspirations for him.
Okay.
Silent Hill, though, changed how horror gets delivered.
Yeah.
To like an audience. It rather than having scares in your face and stuff like that, it was just open in the fog, with creepy music and
maybe psychological
horror. At least for games.
Yeah.
This Silent Hill, this game introduced that.
And I kind of feel like, this was the one that really became mainstream where you didn't matter. You heard about Silent Hill at some point.
I mean, they made movies.
They made kind of movies.
Now there are movies,
By now there are movies, you mean like 15 years ago.
Yeah, the first one came out like 15 years ago. Yeah. I like the first one, but I've been over this.
Yeah.
What was Pyramid Head doing in there?
Right.
But anyways, this paved the way to Silent Hill 2, which is regarded as the greatest title in the franchise.
Which, interestingly, Toyama wasn't involved with. I believe he left Konami at that point, or he was working on something else. But, I mean, he would go on to create Siren, which, is another... I
wonder if he had something to do with Silent Hill 3, though, because it's weird. Silent Hill and Silent Hill 3 are connected.
Okay.
Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 4 are connected.
I believe he was gone from Konami like after the end of the first game, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. You had no idea, or you didn't remember, I should say, meeting the creator of Silent Hill.
I met a lot of creators.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. I'll have to get you that picture.
Yeah, that'd be good. Something else that we need to celebrate its 25th anniversary is the Wonder Swan, the handheld released by Bandai in Japan.
Yeah, never in America, right?
Yeah, never came to America. It was their attempt at a handheld console to compete with the Game Boy, created in partnership with Gunpei Yokai, who left Nintendo after the failure of the Virtual Boy. So that guy had a hand in the Wonder Swan.
He did, yeah.
Major hand. And he would not live to see the release of the Wonder Swan because he died in a traffic accident before its release.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
That's tragic, actually.
The dude had probably so much more to give.
Yeah.
Like, created the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Created the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
Which, not a...
I mean, it has a reason to exist.
I agree. Yeah, well, maybe it wasn't a commercial success.
No.
It's still a really cool piece of tech for the time.
For sure.
And then, went solo after, like, my understanding is that, like, when there's a failure, like, you don't get fired in Japan, but you, like, own that failure. And, like, you become, like...
You get publicly shamed, and you're, like...
It's like
they're ringing the bell as you walk down the street.
It's like you're non-publicly shamed, though. It's like everyone knows it's your fault.
Yeah.
But no one mentions it. No one talks about it. But you're just, like... They don't give you work anymore. You just come into work and do nothing, you know? But, like, it's... I don't know. To me, it's crazy how, like, the dude made the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Or he designed the Game Boy, I mean, he's a big part of the team, you know? I don't understand how one mistake after the Game Boy gets you, like, ostracized.
Well, I'm so sick and tired of people just like hearing people crap on the Virtual Boy.
Right.
Okay, and like it's old. It's old. Like...
I know, but it's widely seen. I'm just referring to it broadly as a failure.
Yeah, but I think that, like, the world at large doing that has caused, like, this...
Sure. Sure. Recently, some people in the emulation side of the internet have created a way to play Virtual Boy games on the 3DS using the stereoscopic 3D.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's something that just came out, like, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I kind of want a mod of a 3DS ASAP to check that out, because that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Wonder Swan had some great titles. One that I particularly am fond of is a game by Squaresoft called Blueing Blitz. And it was a tactical role-playing game with, like, World War I style planes and stuff. I've shown you this.
Yeah, you've talked about it before.
There were a lot of other ones.
It was known for having a lot of Digimon games.
Yeah, it did have
Bandai properties.
So 3 or 4, possibly, no, 4, I think, Digimon titles.
Yeah, and I had some Final Fantasy games as well. Although it may have been the Wonder Swan Color. I think.
Well, okay, so it kind of worked like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. So Wonder Swan Color would play WonderSwan games.
My understanding is that the WonderSwan Color was a little more similar to like a Game Boy Advance than it was
Game Boy Color.
A Game Boy Color. I think it was like a little more capable because I think there
were WonderSwan Color games,
right,
that were more juicy or whatever you want to call it. But that same system would play WonderSwan games.
Oh, okay, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think the WonderSwan was out very long before the WonderSwan Color came.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think we're going to talk about the Neo Geo Pocket Color, but I think that also had a similar like.
Yeah,
the original wasn't available for.
And I get the two mixed up, and what I'm telling you might actually be true about that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, sorry. Disregard everything I said. That's true about the Neo Geo Pocket versus the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Gotcha.
Neo Geo Pocket, I'll talk about it later.
Yeah. All right, so next game we're going to be talking about that's celebrating its 25th anniversary is a game known as Pepsi Man. Mm-hmm. This is for the PlayStation 1, which released in Japan on March 4th. People might be familiar with Pepsi Man from the Angry Video Game Nerds video on it probably a decade ago at this point. Long story short, the game is like a giant advertisement for Pepsi, but it plays kind of like an endless runner, sort of Crash Bandicoot, obstacles in your way. Mm-hmm. It's not quite an endless runner though, because there are like level stages and things. But the game was also known for having these like full motion video sequences that played throughout the game that were clearly filmed in America, starring this like random guy who's like just trying to, I guess, just talking about drinking Pepsi.
Yeah, he I believe his line was Pepsi for TV game.
Yeah, at the end or something like that.
No, he said that like throughout.
So yeah, it's really weird because it was like he was given like a broken English script to read or something, and he just read it how they gave it to him. But yeah, interesting, weird little piece of trivia game kind of thing.
I think it's kind of, I was going to say, it's a bit weird because I feel like this was around the same time that like Pizza Hut, Pepsi, and PlayStation were all doing stuff together.
Well, what's interesting is that this game didn't release in the U.S.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It only released in Japan, even though like it was clearly like
developed over here.
Well, no, it was developed in Japan, but like the video stuff was shot
here
in America.
Oh, weird.
Like there's even like an El Pollo Loco in the background of like some guy filming at like the corner of a street or something, you know.
Oh, what?
You could probably find that exact like street corner if you did some
digging. I think like
in LA.
All I can think of is that they were trying to showcase like Americanism in a Japanese game.
Right. Like this is what America looks like.
Consumerism.
It clearly looks like LA County or something like that.
I believe it is. They've pinpointed the exact intersection.
Yeah, the Angry Video Game Nerd actually found the guy featured in the video game and like brought him in to like be part of the skit that he did. So, you know, that was a pretty cool like piece of like research he had to do to like make that happen. Fun little tidbit about the game though. The creator of the Zero Escape series, Kotaro Uchikoshi, worked on this game early in his career before he would go on to start making visual novels and adventure games.
Yeah.
So just kind of, interesting that's where he got his start.
People can start keeping track of who these people are and where they've been through us, the Bit Beacon. So something else that I already spoiled, the Neo Geo Pocket Color, celebrating its 25th anniversary, released in Japan on March 19th.
Isn't that crazy? Only like 2 weeks apart, the WonderSwan and the Neo Geo.
Yeah,
well, they clearly were going up against each other.
Yeah, Nintendo was probably laughing while these two were fighting for their sloppy seconds.
I mean, they didn't do terrible. These two didn't, they're not,
I mean, no, they're...
If you're like, if your standard of success is the Game Boy.
Right.
Like... That's everything's
a failure.
Yeah. So that's not how I think. But
I mean, I'm not saying they're failures. I'm just saying like I don't know. It just seems like kind of foolish on their parts to launch at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but they did.
That's what happened.
So SNK released the Neo Geo Pocket Color as a successor to its previously released Neo Geo Pocket. And this is the one that works like Game Boy versus Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
So Neo Geo Pocket was definitely not out for very long. I believe there were only, it was something like 20 games or something on that. And then Neo Geo Pocket Color had like 100 or way more. So SNK already had the Neo Geo console going, and I think that one had like a follow-up version. The Neo Geo actual console was basically Super Gun technology that played an arcade board inside the cartridge. Mm-hmm. So they kind of wanted to bring that same sort of arcade style experience to their handheld. Okay. And a lot of the games on this, if you like fighters, this is the handheld for you. Yeah, because it's loaded with them. Yeah. Like they have Fatal Fury has like 2 titles on there. Street Fighter, Final Fight.
I think there's some Capcom games on
there. Yeah,
there's
a whole bunch of Capcom on there. Sonic has a game on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Chip's Challenge, which was a game that I played on Windows.
Okay.
Has a console existence on this thing. And it was like this little puzzle game that you played down in the corner of like your screen.
So the Neo Geo Pocket Color had like an actual stick on it, right?
Yeah. It was like a thumbstick, kind of like the DS has.
I hear people refer to it as a clicky stick. I don't really know what it means because I've never held one in my hand. Mm-hmm. But supposedly the stick was like designed to be used like because of the fighting library that the console would have.
Yeah.
They wanted like there to be like a thumbstick kind of thing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean,
you almost would. Playing it with a D-pad with some of this stuff would be really, really bad. But yeah, that was a good choice. I don't remember if the Neo Geo Pocket had a D-pad. It might have. And I'm forgetting a bunch of titles that I should be mentioning because I'm doing this off the top of my head.
It's okay.
But yeah, a lot of really good titles. This is a good handheld to collect for. In my opinion,
because you can probably get them all.
Relatively. I think there's like 72 titles or something. Okay. So it was a number like that.
Yeah.
Because I have looked it up before.
Not some insurmountable like the Game Boy library.
Like I say, the titles are good. Right. Like a bunch of fighters. Yeah. Sonic. There
probably wasn't much shovelware made for it ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of a.
There is a lot of stuff based on animes and stuff like that, if I remember right. But other than that, like it's solid library.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So the next mention here is Pokemon Snap, of course, came out on the N64 on March 21st, developed by HAL. I love Pokemon Snap. I mean, of course, the recent one that just came out for Switch.
Right. Pokemon Snap.
New Pokemon Snap, yeah. I mean, I had a moment there when I saw Todd all grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like...
New Pokemon Snap.
For the new Pokemon Snap, yeah. Because, I reflect back on I was a kid playing as Todd in Professor Oak's little... I forgot what the vehicle was called.
It had some code name.
Yeah, it had some code name. And you go around and you take these different Pokemon, it caused them to do different things in order to unlock different achievements. I mean, that was just, it was really, really cool, and just the different levels and everything. And, there's time I was at odds with Professor Oak, as far as,
how
he rated him. Like, no, I did that one better than what he's saying.
That's a perfect shot.
That was a perfect shot, Oak.
What's
Come
wrong
on. Yeah.
You? So it's crazy that this game, was able to recognize,
judge your
photos like that.
How did
that's
they program
some crazy technology?
Yeah.
It has to store. Well, it would be storing object data in
the image.
Not in the image, but along with it, in the memory.
It must know that there must be these invisible points that aren't visible to the player or something. And maybe the depth, or making sure they're all captured in part of that square.
I know for sure. One of the things was center.
Probably has an algorithm for storing the scale of the game object for like the Pokemon in the photo.
Okay.
And then for like other Pokemon being present, it can count that. You know, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
Like it probably used raycast and stuff like that to judge distance, and then knows the object's size, so it knows what its scale is, and then they have a math algorithm to figure out how many points that is.
Yeah.
But it's still like crazy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too was just like having to figure out all the different like, you have to get like, so you want to evolve Slowpoke into Slowbro and catch it as you're, like that, or like getting all the
chain of events you have to do to like trigger.
Yeah, because there's another one where Magnemite turning into Magneton or whatever by getting all of them to react or whatever in a certain way.
Yeah, and then you had to like hatch the eggs to get the legendary birds to appear.
Right, exactly.
And then there were those signs, in each level where the hardest one to get was the Pinsir Shadow thing, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was bad.
In the tunnel level.
Yeah.
Because you had to lure Pikachu like with
that's
apples.
Right. Yeah, with apples. That's right. To walk all the way over. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that's right.
And then you had to hit it with a pester ball to make it go off.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pester ball. I love that. Like they were like back then. They're like, this wildlife. Let's piss it off.
Yeah.
Pester balls. Not bringing back pester balls kind of made me mad.
Yeah, that it wasn't in the new game.
Yeah, they got some other stuff.
Yeah. I think maybe one of my favorite memories from Pokemon Snap is taking your cartridge with you to Blockbuster.
Yes, the kiosk.
To put it in the kiosk and get printouts of your photos.
Yeah. That's right.
That you took in the game.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I know like eventually like a lot of the machines would stop working. And so like you'd go to Blockbuster and they'd be like out of order and stuff. But I did get a handful of sheets that I was able to print out.
Cool.
I totally forgot about that. That's right.
I know there's some people that own the kiosks and like have them in working condition.
Wow.
But I mean the printer paper has to be like solid gold bricks at this point. So you have to get a really good picture to want to use them.
Oh, wow.
But what a game! Like never before did Pokemon feel so alive from like the game world. Obviously, we had the anime.
Yeah, was this the first time
Pikachu came out afterward, right?
Yeah, it was afterwards.
Yeah. But I would say that one does, but
because was this the first time that we kind of branched away from the main story and you had a whole nother kind of. What am I trying to say? I'm losing
like a side,
like a spin-off. A spin-off, It
was a true Pokemon spin-off. Yeah, there was no battling. No emphasis on battling. It's just like you being in the world of Pokemon.
Yeah, you played a totally different character.
I mean, you can consider maybe Stadium a spin-off. There was battling.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, still the idea is like you're becoming the best trainer. You're going through the stadiums and stuff. But definitely a spin-off in a way. And we'll talk more about Pokemon Stadium in a minute.
Yeah. Before that, though, we'll talk about Roller Coaster Tycoon. Came out on PC on March 22nd. Chris Sawyer inspired dozens of tycoon management sims. Now, I was a big Roller Coaster Tycoon person.
Me too.
I loved it. Granted, number 2 I loved more because they introduced the whole Six Flags rides to it.
Yeah, but you could just make your own Six Flags
rides.
You could
exactly. So they had the whole. And then I forgot if sandbox mode was in this first one. But
I think you could. I oftentimes there was this one of the like beginner levels was like this wooden roller coaster.
Yes.
Like this, and I would often use that as like my starting point for a theme park whenever I would play the game. But the thing is, like on year 3 or 4, that wooden roller coaster was guaranteed to have a fatal accident.
Yeah, that was always the best thing about these games. There was always some kind of fatal accident. I remember the first time it happened to me. I was pretty devastated. Like, oh my god! Like I killed a whole bunch of. I killed a whole group of people.
They all have names.
Yeah, I think they all are people with emotions and things going on. Like I can't believe I was responsible for that. So, I mean, yeah, it was great, and of course they had the different objectives. Like some of them, I didn't care for, like the whole financial ones.
See, like I never cared about the objectives. I just wanted to make a theme park and just make it the best thing that it could be, and just like see how high I could get my money.
Now I know me and Taylor talked about this. Like this is way back in college. We talked about this because we both discovered we both were playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. But
slow down.
Yeah, you excited about Roller Coaster Tycoon?
I know, I can tell. Enthusiasm.
But going back to when leaving your computer on overnight and getting to year like 20, so not touching it at all.
Often you would wake up and there would have been some horrific event or something.
Multiple rides have blown up and like the theme park is now
your theme park anymore.
It's all littered and what do you call it? The graffitied and everything.
I have a question for you. Did you charge per ride or did you charge for entry usually? Because you could have free entry to your park,
right?
Remember you could send out like coupons to like, get discounts.
I remember that, to kind of boost your attendance.
It was crazy. That game was nuts.
Yeah.
It was like SimCity, but for a theme park. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. So and I remember going to my parents and asking like, hey guys, how do you handle like your financials for like if you're getting a loan or whatever? Because there's that loan option on there. And they're like,
I was like, what are you playing?
Yeah, well, they're asking me too, like, well, what's the percentage you're getting it at? And I'm like, 20. Like, oh, that's a garbage percentage. And it's like back in the obviously 2000s.
Did you ever play? Go ahead.
Was it Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that was on Wii?
Probably. 3 was kind of the death of the series.
Yeah, I hated 3.
Like, it was a totally different developer.
Yeah, it wasn't the original development team. Chris Sawyer wasn't involved.
The one that followed, I believe, is the last one. That one required you to be online at all times. And people, like,
I remember they pitched Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 as like, now you can ride your roller coasters.
I remember that.
And that was like exciting. I was like, oh man, I want to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
So like you could design your own ride and
like
ride it.
immense disappointment. Like you get 10 minutes into that game and you're like, this is not the Roller Coaster Tycoon that I thought I was signing up for,
Yeah.
So I was just like, forget that. I'm going to go back to 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. 2 was my favorite.
I mean, 2 really felt like just an expanded version of 1.
Well, except you did have Six Flags parks, so like Magic Mountain, which is the one near us.
All I'm saying is like they just basically created those parks,
right,
and then just put them in one.
Yeah,
like they just added new options. It wasn't it was sure it was a numbered sequel, but what I'm saying is it played essentially identically.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what I loved about it. It was like an improvement though on that.
Yeah, it felt more like an expansion pack to me.
Right, and then, of course,
they had their own expansions.
2 did have expansions. That's right, and of course,
I know Atari came into ownership of the intellectual property.
Yeah.
So I think that was right around Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
It was.
Yeah.
Eventually, Chris Sawyer would get involved with the series again. More recently, they made like Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic.
Okay.
I think they made it for like mobile devices and the Wii, and it does play similarly to the Switch.
Yeah.
It does play similarly to the original games.
Okay.
But for me, that's always going to kind of be a PC game.
Yeah.
Not that you can't play it on console, but I don't know. I would just be looking for my mouse and keyboard the whole time.
Yeah, no, for sure. But to go back to your original question about, I would charge admission to the park and have all my rides be free.
Okay.
But I was following the objectives as I was playing, so there were times when you needed to generate more revenue. So then I would have to charge per ride and charge a small
I was
admission.
always like, I don't want to do any of this objective crap.
Yeah.
Like, just let me do what I want to do.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So yeah, I really never touched the levels.
Really?
Yeah, I never. So you probably beat the game or whatever, and I never felt interested in any of that.
Okay.
I just had fun building parks.
Yeah, because when you got done, the whole crowd cheers for you.
Yeah.
And there's balloons that go off. And it's pretty cool. But
and then I know you can keep playing if you want.
Yes.
But like, see, a lot of times with the objectives, it's like you would get a whole theme park already there.
Right.
And then it was just your job to like get it back in shape or something.
Well, there was one level where it was like the theme park was atrocious. And it was like, okay, now you have 3 years to...
Right. And then, I can't stand when games are like, oh, you only have this long or it's game over.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to do things at my pace.
That's true. I gotcha.
Did you ever like make a roller coaster that would essentially also act as like a transport around the park?
Yes, of course I did. Yeah, I always had like a train that went around like the whole Disneyland.
A monorail system.
A monorail system.
Well, you could have a monorail, or you could literally just design a coaster that had like multiple stations around the park, so you could be doing loops while you're getting around.
Because I know there was one level where you couldn't build above the tree line or something like that. So I like
had kind of restrictions where I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me not to?
But it was kind of cool because then I built all my roller coasters like went underground and like or built little kiddie ones that would like just.
The most disappointing thing was when you would build some crazy awesome roller coaster, and then the first group of riders would get on it, and then they would all barf the second they got off. And so the rating of the ride would go down, and then none of the NPCs would ride it. So you spent like hours making this awesome coaster.
Did you ever like click on it and then like it'll show you like, oh, what's wrong with it? And it's like nausea level 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Extremeness 10.
But as a kid, you're like, I want to ride that so bad. Anyways, that was roller coaster.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, so I've got a game I want to talk about. Ape Escape for the PS1. Which surprisingly released in the USA before Japan, but I don't think by long. It released on June 22nd. It was developed by Sony's internal Japan studio, which was recently closed a couple of years ago. And it features music from famous electronic music composer Soichi Terada. So anyways, this to me was like one of those early PS1 games that I got my hands on. And it's literally a game. You're like this kid working for this like professor guy. Why was that such a theme back in the like? There's always like like in Japanese like things. There's always some like wacky professor character.
Mega Man, Pokemon.
The list just keeps going.
So was it like the Back to the Future model essentially? That was
maybe that's what they were inspired by. Yeah. That might actually make some sense. And so you were tasked, like all these monkeys got out of this like facility, or like they were let loose by like a villain or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I recently replayed it because they ported it to PS4 and PS5, I think 2 summers ago. And so I played through the whole entire game. I don't think I was ever able to beat it back in the day. But anyways, it's a great game, great music, really fun to play, platformer. It has an interesting control system because you actually use the stick to control like the net.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're not like using it to control the camera so much. You're actually like, it's got like very cool like aiming because you're using the stick. So it's not like you're just pressing a button to go whoosh, and you capture the monkey in your net. Yeah. You actually have to like aim your I don't know your swipe, I guess you call it, or your SWAT. So anyways, great game. Love it so much. Definitely something I would love to see a new game someday. It's been so long, I think not since like the PS2. A couple of years ago, there was a rumor because Sony had started promoting the Ape Escape brand again on Twitter and other places doing events in Japan, and they seemed to like be teasing some kind of new project being in development. But then when Japan studio was having issues, there was like an abrupt end to the Twitter, and like the monkey was like, they posted like a little image of the monkey waving goodbye. And nothing ever came of it. Now that Japan studio's defunct, it's probably over forever.
Well, someone owns the intellectual.
Oh no, Sony owns it.
Sony does?
Yeah, it's a first party game.
Okay.
So Sony would have to choose to do something with it, which, knowing the Sony that we have today that wants all these live service, quadruple A.
Take Naughty Dog off their project. We need more live service.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Ape Escape. Do I got this next one?
Yes.
Okay. So next we have Pokemon Stadium 2 for N64, which released in Japan on April 30th. So fun fact that a lot of people don't know is that Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan is actually our Pokemon Stadium 1 in the US. The original Pokemon Stadium did not have Game Boy connectivity and only released with a limited amount, not even the full 151, only like, I don't know, 50 to 70, something like that, of the original monsters. So they never brought that game to the US. Instead, we got Pokemon Stadium 2, which we just called Pokemon Stadium here. And so this game let you put this the transfer pack into your N64 controller, slide in your Game Boy Pokemon game, and bring your Pokemon to life, so to say, on your TV with like 3D graphics and some amazing animations that I feel put to shame the animations seen in the games, the main series games today.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
It also let you play your Game Boy game with the Game Boy thing, and then you
Game Boy Tower.
You can speed it up.
Doduo mode, and then if you unlocked it, you could also unlock Dodrio mode.
Yeah, I think
which you could play 3 times speed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So like if you're just someone just powering through the Elite Four to level up your Pokemon, that was a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, David. Our friend David, I know he was known for using and abusing that Dodrio mode. So anyways, it also featured like a campaign as well as different like cups. And the campaign, again, this is just like battle after battle. You're just battling in this game.
I'm going to say something about the cups too. I think they're the best cups in, any Pokemon, like the petite cup.
Yeah.
They need to bring that concept back.
I mean, I feel Pokemon Go kind of...
No, it doesn't. It does not bring the petite cup.
I agree. It doesn't bring petite cup back. But I feel like there's some sort of inspiration from the stadium games.
Yeah, with some of the...
like the tiers of like competitions in Pokemon Go.
Some of the past, I guess, tiers in Pokemon Go only allow unevolved Pokemon, which is kind of in that spirit, I guess.
I think so. I mean, it's not the same thing, you're right. But I do feel like they are kind of inspired by that, to as much as they really can be in Pokemon Go. But yeah, I agree. How fun was it to like literally battle with Pokemon that are like only less than a foot tall or something like that, or like under 50 pounds?
Give those Pokemon some life, because no one's using that.
No, that was really fun. And then, of course... the mini games.
Yeah.
Yes.
The mini games. Yeah. I mean, these are the kinds of things. Sometimes you would just spend, up time with your friends playing the mini games for hours on end, as opposed to like playing the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
And those were known for, being. What was the Lickitung one in the first game, or was it the
sushi one?
Yeah,
that was the first one.
Yeah.
And then the Sandshrew one where you're digging.
Yes.
With L and R.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one.
So yeah, I mean, Pokemon Stadium, we'd eventually get a second Pokemon Stadium game, Pokemon Stadium 2 in the US, which I think was just known as Pokemon Stadium GS in Japan.
Sounds right.
So they got 3 Stadium games, we got 2, but weren't necessarily missing out on a whole lot with the first game.
It was basically just part of what we got.
Yeah, it was like a beta version of Pokemon Stadium 2, or the Pokemon Stadium 1 that we got.
So, another game on the same console that is also 25 years old is Mario Golf 64. It was created by Camelot Software Planning as the team who developed it, who still work on the various Mario sports games. And they are known for Golden Sun
as well.
So those same guys who did Golden Sun brought us Isaac and Felix and Ivan and Mia.
So for those that don't know, which shame on you if you don't.
Yeah.
Golden Sun was this RPG series on Game Boy Advance and DS. Just incredible games. The kinds of graphics and things they got away with on the Game Boy Advance hardware in particular were like
they had like 3D effects going on with
it looked like a PS1 game at times, and it was nuts.
It was my first fantasy RPG.
Oh, really?
Which you can imagine how much that influenced me.
What a game to be your first fantasy RPG.
And
but anyways, we're talking about Mario Golf.
Same guys, same studio. Yep. Made Mario Golf and work on the Mario sports games, which is crazy. But this game in particular, I ended up joining the golf team basically, because of this game.
There's a story here that's coming out, is that like basically all these games influenced you on such a level that like you brought it to like your real life. It seems like
And there's a golf course that me and Rick will go to, that especially high school, when he said this whole, what do you always say? It reminds me of Mario Golf.
Yeah, so it's hole 1 at La Mirada.
Yeah, La Mirada Golf Course.
That reminds me of like hole 6 or something in this game. One of the courses. Yeah. I think this game had multiple courses, but one of the holes it's the same dog ear with the same hill, and it's I don't know. Just
what do you think about like because the Mario sports game over the games that Camelot would make, there was always a tennis game, or often a tennis game, often a golf game, and then some other spin-offs.
Yeah, there's like strikers and there was going to be spikers. I think that got canceled.
But golf and tennis are consistently made by Camelot Software. Some of the other sports games have been made by other people as well. But like to this day, the tennis and golf games still come out on current Nintendo hardware.
Yeah.
And Camelot, unfortunately, hasn't really made anything else since.
Of course, I would rather see Camelot doing Golden. I'm just glad.
Oh no! I'm not saying that they shouldn't make these sports games, but like, I feel like they always add these like crazy gimmicks to the sports games that I feel like I don't know like for me personally, I feel like they make it less enjoyable because like the early Mario sports games were kind of pure in the sports aspect. There wasn't like. Some insane overpowered thing that you could do, to like guarantee a hole-in-one
I didn't even know they were doing that in the new ones.
Or like power-ups and like the original Mario Tennis is like a tennis game.
Yeah, this one was like that. This was golf.
Yeah.
And you either got it right or you got it wrong.
Right.
There was no automatic way to get a hole-in-one.
Well, yeah, I mean I might be exaggerating a little bit there.
I remember getting an eagle in this game and like standing up. And, like, I made it like over the water and it rolled down the
Did you have an interest at all in golf? Like why did you pick up Mario Golf?
My cousin owned it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you played it and you're like did family members play golf or like no? No, okay.
I really didn't have any introduction to golf
aside from
Mario Golf. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, yeah, I played it for hours.
Yeah,
I got like super addicted to it, and then it really was my main reason for joining the golf team in high school. But then I think my justification for basing a decision like that on a game was that your boss in the future is not going to want to play football with you. He's going to want to golf with you.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of like.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, I wish I had well, I mean, tennis is a fairly adult sport as well.
Yeah, it is.
You do see a lot of like boss type people playing tennis.
Yeah. And racquetball.
Oh, racquetball. That's right. Yeah.
What's the big one right now?
Oh, pickleball or pickleball?
Pickleball.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's playing now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to this next title we've got here, which for me personally was a big title, maybe not for everyone else in the room, but Driver for the PlayStation 1, which released in Europe on June 25th, created by Martin Edmondson and developed by the team at Reflections. It was inspired by the 1978 film by the similar name, The Driver.
Yeah.
So for me, Driver... It was before Grand Theft Auto went 3D. It was a top-down game, right?
Yeah.
It was just top-down. You're just a little person.
I think the first two
were top-down games. Yeah. But Driver was before Grand Theft Auto ever did. Made an open-world 3D like huge city to go drive around in, and not just one city. They had like multiple cities in them.
Yeah.
And there was a campaign to these games, but I never bothered with it. The game opens up with you being in like a garage, and it wants you to pull off these like stunts. The story is that like you're a stunt driver and they're filming a movie, and you have to film the stunts for the movie.
There's another game with that same story called Stuntman. I played it on Game Boy Advance, but I think it was on other stuff too. Weird.
Interesting. So like it was so challenging that first level. Like if you look it up, a lot of people could never get past that first level. The game, like many other games at the time, had like a secret cheat menu that you could do that would unlock like other parts of the campaign, or it would unlock the free roam mode. because like the free roam mode, you weren't allowed to like do it until you had like beaten like the campaign or something like that.
Right.
But through a set of common button presses at the main menu, you could unlock the free roam mode immediately. And me and my brother, we would literally sit in front of the TV and we would just take turns until just going around the free mode because it had cops.
Yeah.
So like if you started breaking the law, the cops would start chasing you and they would come after you in like the hugest way, and you would just get like these insane car chases where you're on the freeway and like you'll turn the mirror behind you and there's like, I mean, I'm exaggerating probably, but it felt like there was like 50 cop cars behind you and they're just going around the city, and because they're crashing into traffic, you're crashing into traffic. And we would turn the invincibility mode on, so the only way that you could effectively get a game over is if your car flipped.
Okay.
So if your car flipped, then it means, okay, your turn's up. Now you pass the controller to your brother. And so we would just go back and forth all day long. You remember popcorn chicken? Was that like a thing for you as a kid?
Oh, yeah. KFC.
Well, for us, I think we would get like a big bag at Costco or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we just have a plate in between us with popcorn chicken, and we just out the barbecue sauce on the plate. That's right. And whoever wasn't playing was just eating barbecue chicken or popcorn chicken. But yeah, we just go back and forth nonstop, and we'd like make stories as to like what was happening as like we were driving, like we picked someone up. It wouldn't be until the sequel, Driver 2, which was very similar to the first game, but you could actually get out of your car.
Oh yeah,
and then you could hijack like other people's cars. So then you could like jump in a school bus, and we'd like pretend that there's like all these kids on the bus, and you're like, "Wow!"
And then Driver 3 was so bad it was a whole scandal.
Yeah. So yeah, after much like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, Driver 3 was like not that game anymore. Yeah. I think it was made by like different people.
You would like fall through the ground.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Yeah, but I personally believe that Driver inspired the team at Grand Theft Auto
100%
to take their game to the next level.
Of course. So they were playing Driver at Rockstar.
Oh yeah.
And even the cheat codes idea is like, because there are weapon codes in Grand Theft Auto, and you can just and then have a weapon,
right?
And stuff like that. Vehicles too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a Driver didn't really do. It didn't do weapons or anything like that. So I mean, it was more simplistic than what Grand Theft Auto would go on to become.
Right.
But yeah, I feel that it deserves its own little place in history as being an influential game.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next game we're going to talk about is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Was released for the PlayStation on September 29th, developed by Neversoft Entertainment, who went defunct in 2014 when they were merged into Infinity Ward to work on Call of Duty full-time at Activision. Tony Hawk Pro... How's that?
What a bummer.
Yeah, I know. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I mean, this is a very special game. I mean, first off, Tony Hawk was a very big deal, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
When we were kids.
Oh, he was the best skater.
Oh, yeah. No, don't get me rightfully so. I mean, he was an amazing pro skater. But be able to play this character going through warehouses and the music and everything going with it, and you're trying to do all these different tricks. You're learning about the... Yeah, it's just, especially for a person like me, like I did try picking up skateboarding, kind of similar to like Rick with golf, because of Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
I mean, it was
I sucked at it, but...
it was like, it had like a culture contained inside the game that like wasn't like new to me. I mean, we grew up in Southern California, so it's not like we weren't around skater culture, but I don't think any of us were really, in that scene per se. But yeah, it did like expose me to like their music. And I mean, I had so much fun playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I fiddled around on a skateboard a few times, but I never, I don't know. I never felt confident, that I could do it. I think that was something as a kid I lacked when it came to that kind of a thing, like where I was like, oh no, I'm gonna stick to a bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it just seems so unstable.
Yeah.
I don't know why too, but and it's maybe because of my parents and upbringing and everything. But there was like a scandal. I'm not sure if it was with Pro Skater or if it was with one of the other variants. But I guess like some of the music wasn't being censored, even though it was like rated teen or rated E or whatever. Yeah. And like, oh, they're dropping F-bombs or whatever in the song or whatever.
And you're like, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like a big old uproar or whatever. Like, so, I can't believe that they're doing that.
My mom was pretty like music. It didn't affect her. I mean, in fact, she liked some of that kind of music, so it was like welcome in my household. Yeah. But yeah, like for me, like I think even to this day, like that music. A lot of that music is some of like my favorite music.
Oh yeah, definitely nostalgia at this point. Yeah, like I definitely go to a special place with that. Hearing a lot of it.
I mean, Superman by Goldfinger.
Oh yeah,
it's like a certified platinum. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. What a game, and it had a huge legacy too.
Oh yeah.
Like the first 3 Pro Skater games were all like 100 out of 100, as far as I'm concerned. Especially the second game. That game like had a cheat code where you can unlock like Spider-Man, and you could play as Spider-Man.
That's right.
Because Neversoft was actually working on a Spider-Man game at the same time, so I guess they just thought they could drop them in there.
A little Easter egg at the time.
I don't know if they got that like okayed.
Yeah,
hard to say. Back in the day, it was a little more ambiguous.
I don't know if they cleared that with Marvel before they did that, or if they like put it in there as an Easter egg that maybe they were only supposed to know about or something.
So no, all the copies are probably burning in a pile somewhere.
No,
they definitely couldn't get away with that today.
No,
but back then, I think there was a more like free, like, oh yeah, that's awesome. You're making a Spider-Man game too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Next one, Spyro 2: Ripto's Rage. This is me, right?
Yep. That's
okay. So for me, the first 3 Spyro games kind of all blend together.
That's my memory of them as well.
So it's a little hard for me to speak specifically to Spyro 2, but it did come out in the USA on November 2nd, developed by Insomniac Games, of course, the developers of the original, and released just a little more than 1 year after the first game came out, which is insane.
Yeah.
Because it's like a full, huge game. Either they knew that Spyro was going to be a hit, like really far into like the development of the first game. They were like, let's start making a sequel at the same time. Or they just had so many ideas that they were just like, the second that first game shipped, they just kept going,
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Today, you need 5 to 6 years in between your big game.
Yeah. Well, that's because games are bigger.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, I promise.
I mean, but Spyro was big for its time.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely not as big as big games are now.
Yeah.
But it was you could probably. I mean, I never beat those games entirely, but I mean, there were certain. I can't remember because this game, it was kind of like Mario in that you had like Mario 64, where you had levels you would go into. And there were like collectibles. Was it like fireflies that you were? I know you're trying to free the dragons in the first game.
I thought there was like a jewel or something too.
Maybe they were jewels. Yeah, there's a lot of
like green jewels or something like that.
Anyways, I absolutely love the Spyro game. I mean, we were like every time a new Spyro game was coming out, we were like there. Not like other games who had third games that were kind of bad. Spyro 3 was also really good, also made by Insomniac. But after that, Insomniac would leave Spyro, go on to work on other things, and I think Universal got a hold of the property from Insomniac, and they would farm Spyro out to different developers.
Oh yeah, that's how we got all these other Spyro.
And then we got How to Train Your Dragon.
yeah, maybe that's where they got inspired by that.
The predecessor.
But yeah, the first 3 Spyro games have a great legacy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Spyro in general does.
Yeah.
So a really big one that we do want to celebrate here is Pokemon Gold and Silver,
right?
Which was my first Pokemon game, Pokemon Silver version.
So you were late to the party.
I was late to the party.
Yeah.
I'm always late to the party. I'm fashionably late, but just by nature. So released November 21st in 1999. It did not release in North America though until almost a year later.
Yeah.
So, but I remember buying silver version at KB Toys and playing it, and it like having to look up that I need to use Flash to get through the cave and stuff. Like that was the game where I learned all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
did you get the strategy guide along with the game?
I did get. I own the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide. Yep. And it has every learnable move for every Pokemon. I remember memorizing some of that stuff. I know where every trainer is. I know these games really well. And then I got gold version because by the time I was done with silver version, it's crazy to think like how many gyms this game packed. Like you went through all Johto, and then it's like they didn't know what to do, so they gave you Kanto as well. And
talk about a mind-blowing
move. That literally was a very mind-blowing move when I saw that.
Like 16 gyms.
Yeah.
A fully fledged out, like they had to redo, like it's not like they just imported Kanto from Red and Blue.
Well, yeah, just Cinnabar Island, for example.
Well, there's a story behind, the game didn't have the memory to do both. So they had to like abbreviate some portions of Kanto in order to fit it on there.
Gotcha.
But
what parts?
Well, I think Mount Moon is like a very short little tunnel.
Oh, that's
now.
true. Yeah, that is true.
There are more examples similar to that.
Yeah, and Pokemon Mansion is gone.
Yeah,
right. And then of course again going back to Cinnabar Island, it has erupted, and now it's just a desolate.
Town is destroyed.
Gone.
Yeah. There's still as many crazy secrets and stuff. Glitchy type stuff as there wasn't. Maybe not as much. In Red and Blue.
There's some glitchy stuff in Gold and Silver.
Oh, there is.
The coin case.
Yeah, but yeah, this game was huge for me. It was the beginning.
Well, we kind of also got like an origin story of the Pokeballs. For you go to Kurt, and remember you had to collect the acorns and then go and he would make the Pokeball, the Great Ball.
Apricorns.
Yeah, the Apricorns, that's what they were, yeah.
I don't know that it was necessarily the origin story.
Well, yeah, but it was kind of the first, I never really thought about, where
that was a new thing in those games, for sure.
Then, you know what's funny is most of those balls, the effects that it said that they had didn't actually.
It was just BS.
So most of them just had the effect of a normal Pokeball. Yeah. Only a couple of them worked as described.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Pokemon breeding made its debut.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And also Shinies made their debut in these games.
So much.
Gyarados.
Yeah. Like just a lot of introduction here.
And with breeding, of course, you have male and female Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brought gender into it.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then we talked about earlier the time-wise as well. Day and night, and which Pokemon you capture in day and night.
Okay, when was your favorite time to play?
Well, during the day.
Really?
Yeah.
I love the night.
Yeah, I always enjoyed the palette of the game at nighttime.
Yeah, it was cool at night. There were certain moments, like when you're going around, because I think the burglar, anything to do with Team Rocket looked better at night.
Okay.
I felt, I don't know, all the hoot hoots and crap everywhere, hoot hoots everywhere. Every route had hoot hoots. It was no.
Okay, so for me, it was the visual aesthetic of the night that drew me to playing at night. I mean, obviously, I would play whenever I wanted to play, that I could play.
Right.
Still blew my mind, still to this day, about how there was day and night in real time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say disappointing, but I would like to see real time night and day be more permanent in this series. It seems like occasionally they use it. Sometimes they use an in-game clock, but the day and night doesn't actually adjust.
Right.
Or it doesn't, Scarlet and Violet, for example. A day is roughly 30 minutes in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like it'd be more fun if it actually used a real-time clock.
I love real time.
Yeah.
I love when the game environment matches real time.
So I look out the window, it's dark.
I was reading Nintendo Power back in the day, and the complaints that I was reading were that if you worked during the day, you really had very limited time.
Or play on the weekend.
Yeah.
Or I used to switch it to a different time zone altogether and just go, okay.
You can change the clock.
Yeah.
Well,
You'd have to restart the game, I think, actually.
There's a debug menu that you can get into in the US version of Gold and Silver that does let you reset the clock. Okay. But you have to like know exactly how much money is in your coin purse, and there's this website that has like the ability, like you put in your trainer name, your trainer number, and you put in the amount of money in like your bag, and it'll give you the code you need to like reboot your in-game clock.
Oh, okay.
But this is like an external thing that someone has created to help people take advantage of that.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's something that only Nintendo had access to normally.
Gotcha.
Still my favorite soundtrack, though.
That game.
I love the soundtrack.
Critique City.
Oh, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that one was good. I like the Zayla Towns theme.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Goldenrod.
Goldenrod was great. Yeah.
Lake of Rage.
Composed by Junichi Masuda.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. So another game that we do need to mention here is
our last game,
Shenmue on Dreamcast. Came out in Japan December 29th, 1999. So it was huge when it came out. It used
real-time clocks.
It used an in-game clock that will basically let the game be like a living world inside the game.
Yeah.
And it was like we talked about with Harvest Moon, with like random events and happenings and stuff. That was like, this was a living, breathing town.
Yeah, like it took a step beyond.
Yeah.
Like with Harvest Moon, there was like a trigger that would start an event.
There was there was an in-game clock in Harvest Moon, but it wasn't this.
Shenmue was like, the game was happening around you, whether you were there or not.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then Shenmue 2, like, took that on steroids. There are like shops you can walk in Shenmue, and there's gashpon machines, and like you can collect all the Sega characters.
Yeah.
This huge collection of like gashpons that you could get. The combat was not the best in the world, but it still worked. Like, once you got it, there was a learning curve, but once you got it, like you understood it. The cinematics and the story were really great. A really groundbreaking game. People really need to play Shenmue if they haven't.
It recently got ported, Shenmue 1 and 2,
it did.
To PS4.
PS4, and then Shenmue 3 came out.
Shenmue 3 came out to mixed reception, my understanding.
Well, they pulled that thing where they were going to launch on Epic Game Store exclusively. And it was a rug pull, because they promised their Kickstarter backers that it would be on all these other systems.
Right.
And it wasn't. And then they didn't give refunds, I believe. I'm not too clear.
I think it was where you could get it on PC.
Yeah.
But like it did come out on console as well.
It did, yeah, but there was a period of exclusivity. Right. People make a huge deal about that,
So the game was created by Yu Suzuki, who is known for creating a lot of Sega's like arcade games, like Afterburner.
Right.
I think he worked on like Daytona. I might be wrong on that one. But he said after Shenmue 3 came out, I'm only 40% done with the story of the Shenmue. But it's like, it took 20 years for you to make Shenmue 3 finally. And how are you only 40%? You are like 60-something guy.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean it's going to get completed.
Yeah.
He's telling you that like he has the story for that much more.
Right. So, I mean, I think players were disappointed because the game hardly pushed the story forward. Like, it was still a Shenmue game. Yeah. It played like a Shenmue game, with all of its quirks and, cool things. Like, as if you were looking for Shenmue 3 in, 2005, that's the game that he delivered to players, essentially.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the Shenmue game some players were expecting in 2019 or whenever it came out. But I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I did hear some people who are like, I want that like retro style gameplay experience. I don't need it to be like AAA Shenmue, But I mean, presumably, or he said that there's like no current plans for Shenmue 4.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing cooking. The game is not being worked on. So, I don't know where Shenmue fans go from here.
Yeah. Well, the spiritual successor to Shenmue is Yakuza.
That's true.
And those games do have a lot in common with Shenmue, with the added arcade cartooniness of Sega.
Right.
You know, if you play like Gunblade is a good example of that kind of what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Also Sonic, you know, but yeah, you can get a pretty close to Shenmue experience from Yakuza. So before we get into the Zelda 25th anniversary concert that we attended in Los Angeles back in 2011, we want to briefly do our T-shirt segment here. So I'll go first. Taylor's wearing a shirt from my Studio Ravenheart. It has my old slogan on the front. It's all white. The whole shirt's
What's the
white.
old slogan? You don't want to read it?
Love the battle.
Love the battle
is my slogan. And it's got my insignia on the front, on the upper left chest area. And then on the back, it's got my studio name with the title art that I hand painted with my Cintiq. And yeah, Studio Ravenheart presents, and it's got the insignia. It's one of a kind, actually two of a kind shirt. I have one.
I think 3.
3?
I think your composer has one.
Oh, you're right.
Our composer, I should say, for the Bit Beacon.
Yeah, Matthew has one for sure. So yeah, it's a 3 of a kind, 1 of 3.
1 of 3.
Wow. I think it's my first time seeing this, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the Studio Ravenheart shirt before.
And then...
Okay, Rick's wearing a Kirby shirt. It's got kind of like a... What do they call, like a sepia tone?
Yeah,
I think
like a teal kind of. Oh, you talking about the design?
Like the colors, like they're muted, kind of.
They're like distressed.
Yeah, the design of it is distressed. It says Kirby in like typical Kirby looking letters. The B has a little star for where the hole would be, and Kirby's riding on his superstar. I think is what maybe it's called.
I think so.
And there's like a little rainbow trail behind him. The shirt itself is like a teal color.
I'd call it that.
Is there anything on the back?
No, but inside.
You know what it should have said on the back?
What?
Right back at you.
Yeah. Right.
There you go.
On the inside, it does have the Kirby logo in the back.
Right, it's a size medium.
Size medium.
Copyright Nintendo.
And
HAL Laboratory Inc.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so we'll move on.
All right, so as Rick was just saying, we're going to talk about the Zelda 25th anniversary concert. Mm-hmm. Kind of the reason, Rick had the idea, I should say, last week to make this episode kind of a 25th anniversary sort of themed episode. And so because we went to the Zelda 25th anniversary concert, it wasn't just me and Rick. Sam actually joined us.
Yes, I was there along with you guys.
On that excursion back in 2011.
Yep.
And so we thought it would be fun to kind of revisit the event and our memories of that event 13 years ago, what we can bring up.
We should add that this was also at a time when we were in full swing with the website.
That's right.
And we were blogging about all this stuff and doing a bunch of stuff.
I actually went into storage and I pulled out my concert program that they handed out to all the attendees of the show. So this is kind of a rare piece, I would say. It's actually printed with the event date on it. It was October 21st, 2011. It was conducted by Imir Noone, Noone. It was performed by the San Diego Orchestra Nova at the Pantages Theater and presented by Nintendo and Jason Michael Paul Productions, Inc. There is a brief statement from Shigeru Miyamoto, the father of Zelda, and I'll read that real quick. I have been able to continue creating games thanks to all of your support. Please enjoy the World of Hyrule as presented by a full orchestra. Over 200 people have been involved in the creation of the Legend of Zelda series just within Nintendo alone. 25 years is enough time to make their history with the series the stuff of legends. Even now in Skyward Sword, which was being promoted at the time, Link will still push blocks, but I hope you all enjoy the added thrill of action made possible thanks to the Wii. There's also a statement in here from Koji Kondo, the guy who composed much of the game's early music. I'd like to read that too. Koji Kondo says, I would like to sincerely thank all of you for joining us today for the Legend of Zelda 25th Anniversary Symphony. We have selected the best melodies from many generations of the Legend of Zelda and put them to a grand and striking orchestral performance. The orchestra has given the music even greater power, and I will be very pleased if it sets all of your hearts soaring. So I went and looked back. The tickets to this were $39.
Wow.
Do you know how much like one of these like video game concerts cost now? It's like almost $100.
Yeah.
And like it was only 3 shows were advertised as being the 25th anniversary concert. Yeah. There was a show in Tokyo, there was a show in LA, and there was a show in London. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would like a year later go on to tour the show around the country and the world, but it was a different show then, and like there were no special guests from Nintendo. Like when we were here at this one, Koji Kondo came out, played a piece on the piano, Grandma's theme, and Eiji Aonuma also appeared to talk about the game series. Unfortunately, Miyamoto wasn't there, but we did get to see Aonuma and Kondo present at the event.
So, like I said, we were still massively into the bit. This was like at the height of our...
This is like maybe the first year that we were working on the Bit Beacon.
So, I penned a huge article, as well as we uploaded a bunch of photos for the gallery, and we uploaded the... We got into recording the concert, actually.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so before I talk about that, though, I wanted to read something from the article piece that I had written at the time. And this is just about halfway down the article. The Great Fairy's Fountain theme, which has been featured in every single Zelda title in the franchise, was then altered between the 2 harps, following the choir, then... Actually, I'll just... Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to skip that. Then every other instrument joined in. A symphonic movement of multiple Twilight Princess tunes and a medley of music from the original game concluded the main performance. Then, as some may have expected the show to be over, we knew there had to be an encore. Lo and behold, the series composer and legend, Koji Kondo, made a surprise appearance to play a piano solo medley of Grandma's theme from The Wind Waker. Aonuma made the last parting comments with a little speech regarding Skyward Sword. He pointed out that the music will be tied into how you play. As we already know, certain notes will activate depending on your movements with Wii Remote. He then closed by bringing up the intensity of emotion that such a performance as this evokes, and that soon we will be looking back on Skyward Sword the very same way.
I'm glad you wrote that article because you're remembering like some really fine details about like the order of events at the show itself. We actually have the track listing here, thanks to the program. Only 14 songs, or I guess not songs, but some of them were medleys of various games combined. But we had the Hyrule Castle theme, then Princess Zelda's theme, then the Wind Waker symphonic movement, an Ocarina Melody Suite, Boss Battle Medley, Kakariko Village, which then turned into a Twilight Princess theme. It was interesting. It wasn't the Kakariko Village theme from Twilight Princess.
Right.
It was like the classic Kakariko Village theme from like the SNES. And then there was a 25th anniversary medley. And then we came back to Ganondorf's theme, The Legend of Zelda Selected Short Suite, Gerudo Valley, which was awesome to hear, Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time, the Great Fairy Fountain theme, Twilight Princess Symphonic Movement, and then finally the Legend of Zelda main theme medley. But I think after Koji Kondo did his Grandma's theme performance.
Yeah.
I think, and then Aonuma spoke. I think the orchestra came out for one more song.
I think so.
It was the Skyward Sword main theme.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was.
So there was actually 16 tracks at the performance.
That's right.
Not just the 14 listed.
But is Grandma's theme in there? I don't think so.
It's not listed here.
It was 17 then.
No. So there's 14 listed.
Oh, okay.
Then we have Grandma's theme and the Skyward Sword.
Right, okay.
Main theme.
And I know there was a section of the performance where they were picking apart some of the different instruments that are playing the different parts that are comprised everything together, which I thought was kind of cool. I mean, I know, Rick, you were kind of like, just come on, start playing more of the music. But it was really interesting to hear the different instruments and how they all. It's not by mistake that all these things come together.
Yeah, I remember the conductor pointing out how never, ever, ever do you see two harps at a single performance.
And it's true,
Like, there's just no reason to have two harps. Most songs aren't composed with having two harps in mind, but the Great Fairies Fountain theme, to do it right, you need two harps, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they went the extra effort. I remember there was this big, like, online petition to get this, like, really famous ocarina player involved in the orchestra, but it was a failure and he was not invited to perform with them.
Jeez. That would have been crazy. Was there even an ocarina?
No, I don't believe so. One of my favorite things was before the concert even started, before we were even in the building, just rolling up to the Pantages Theater, seeing it's nighttime, it's dark, the theater's lit up, and there are all these Zelda banners hanging all over the theater.
It was all dressed up.
Yeah, and even like on like nearby buildings too, I saw like Zelda banners and things. It was just like.
And then when you walked inside, they had like the whole foyer just dressed up like Zelda, and like I think they had like foliage up high, and
there was a merchandise.
There was merch. I remember seeing the merch.
I think they were selling shirts and a poster, which I really regret not buying now.
Yeah.
They also had demo stations for Skyward Sword too.
Yeah, it was the same E3 demo. I believe we had already played it.
Yeah. Well, 2011 we weren't going.
No,
to E3.
but we had already played the demo somehow. I think they probably
might have been the store demo.
Yeah, store demo.
I think it was just the one where you're like on the loft wing learning how to fly the beast. Yeah.
I remember a demo where you chose between flying and then adventuring or something like that.
But yeah, there was not a bad seat in the house. I mean, I know where we were sitting, I guess wasn't exactly like premier seating, but...
Yeah, we were paying the $39.
Right, but still, no regrets. I mean, the Pantages is a beautiful theater. I mean, like...
Oh, yeah.
There's really not a bad seat in the house,
and especially for that concert. I don't know what the capacity is. It's maybe 1,000 or 2,000. It's not a huge theater,
right?
So it's like it still feels pretty intimate, even from the balcony where we were seated.
Exactly. Yeah.
But one thing we did that we probably weren't supposed to do is we recorded the entire concert.
We were determined to do this too.
I remember that.
I snuck it in like I don't know where I was hiding it, but there was no like search. I think we were worried that we might get like patted down or something like that. So I think I must have had it hidden in like my shoe or something like that.
My dictaphone that we used has quite the history of coming to like events.
So we recorded the whole thing. When we got home from the concert that weekend, we worked on coverage for the BitBeacon website. Rick put up his article about the event
and the gallery.
And I was working on cutting the unofficial bootleg album from the Los Angeles concert, which we uploaded it to SoundCloud.
Yeah.
As well as apparently we made it available to download on like Mega Upload or something like that.
Yeah.
And sites picked up on it, like Go Nintendo and other places. And I went and looked at the SoundCloud before we started recording. And the tracks all have 20 to 30,000 plays on them. Yeah. And we had the whole thing, the Grandma's theme, the Skyward Sword theme,
all of it.
The unlisted stuff. And so it was crazy. We essentially created a bootleg copy of the show. Now, it's not a perfect recording by any stretch.
No, but it's the best that exists.
Maybe. I mean, I think there were some people who recorded, like, clips like video clips of certain songs that might be like better recording of certain songs.
Gotcha.
But overall, I mean, I remember listening to it like constantly.
Yeah, it sounded like a recording to me.
Yeah. But I do remember there were like negative comments on like, oh my god, why is the recording so bad? Yeah. Like the balance isn't very good. Yeah. And I'm like, well, we weren't there with professional audio equipment on stage. Yeah. Like we just had a little dictaphone hiding in the corner.
Did those comments come like shortly after that you guys posted that?
Yeah, once. Well, the comments were like on other websites that were posting about it.
Yeah, because they would. Other websites would take our stuff and then not credit us.
I mean, because of the SoundCloud, though, like, they had to go to our SoundCloud to get to it, you know?
Yeah,
there was no, like, other way around it. Couple fun facts. One about the Zelda 25th Anniversary Symphony program that I have in my hand right here. The Zelda Wiki, run by Fandom, actually has our scans. They were ripped from our website, apparently, with no credit. And if you go to the Zelda Wiki, the scans you're looking for the 25th Anniversary Symphony pamphlet are the same pamphlet I have in my hand right here. So this is like maybe the most famous Zelda Symphony pamphlet out there. So, you know, maybe I'll have to auction this off one day for, you know, personal charity.
Yeah, because people are going to know the Fandom Wiki.
But anyways, if someone out there, you know, can credit us, that would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have Geocode over here work on that for us.
Something to look into.
And then there was one other thing I wanted to mention about the concert, but it's escaping me right now. Sam, did you have any other kind of specific memories from? I know you're a music guy.
Yeah.
But I remember you weren't like really playing games at the time.
No, yeah. I mean, I was familiar with Zelda and obviously some of the tracks and stuff, but I wasn't like crazy involved with it. But I mean, I could appreciate it just from the live concert, what kind of like music went into it, and just how it was. Again, I like the breaking down of things, you know, and seeing how everything works with the two harps, for instance, and of course hearing the woodwinds and the brass sections all performing in their own unique way to make this all happen. Because, you know, you kind of take it for granted, again, going back to even like with Rick earlier with the game development, is that you don't realize how much work goes into creating these soundtracks and, you know, the graphics and designs and the freaking start menu, you know, for a game. Right. So it was really kind of cool to hear from that perspective and really kind of open your mind to like, oh, it's not just somebody with a keyboard who's, you know, plucking away at creating a melody for a game. It's a little more involved than that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad they had a choir.
Yes.
Because, like, I feel like that can make or break.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, some songs, if you don't have the choir, like, what are you even doing?
Exactly. Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I remember that the music was paired with, like, some visual footage from the games and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you actually got to see, like, the game itself and the characters.
You know, it was interesting. I remember them being encouraging of the audience. Like, if you saw something you liked, like you know, hoot and holler, you know, if you're excited about something.
Yeah.
But
Nintendo said something about that after the fact.
Yeah. So, well, Nintendo had a few things to say. About a week after the LA event, and I think when the London event was about to take place, there was an interview done with Nintendo on a website, and I can't remember it right now. I'm sure the website's probably defunct. But they were asking Nintendo about what they thought about, like, the music leaking online. And, like, which was basically them referring to us.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly
Nintendo, like, expressed their disappointment that it came online. You know what's crazy is all these years later, they're still on SoundCloud. We never got copyright struck.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of crazy to me, knowing how, like, litigious Nintendo is.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't get at least a cease and desist, like, take this down kind of a thing.
We didn't get one. That doesn't mean they didn't send one.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they sent it to SoundCloud. Yeah. SoundCloud, like, I don't know, didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of crazy. You know, probably our brightest moment.
Yeah.
BitBeacon in terms of, like, public attention.
Of all of the articles in BitBeacon history that have been posted, it was our most hit.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think there was a lot of coverage at the time.
No.
Yeah, and like first of all, you had to get into this concert,
Right.
which was like
Yeah.
sold out within like minutes of tickets going on sale.
That's right.
And Rick is the one who actually secured the tickets for us. I think I was at work or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I remember texting Rick like, "Do not forget, like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We have to be there." And he came through.
Yeah, he did it. No, he did. He really did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this will never happen again. Like this particular experience will never happen.
It's crazy to me. You know, okay, so after the Zelda concert, Nintendo did tour with the Zelda Symphony for a few years, but they've, at least in the States or outside of Japan, they've never done, like, they have such a rich musical history.
Oh, yeah.
How are they not capitalizing on the, there's video game symphony market?
Well, remember I was, like, totally telling you about the whole Pokemon thing, especially as well. Like,
well, okay, so Pokemon did do one eventually, but it was a smaller tour, and it wasn't, Nintendo's really doesn't have a say in Pokemon so much.
Right.
Pokemon Company does what the Pokemon Company wants to do.
Right.
And so they want to do the Symphony thing. They don't need Nintendo's permission to do the Symphony thing. Mm-hmm. But, like, Nintendo's got Mario.
It's true. Yeah.
Nintendo's got... Okay, I always thought, do a Super Smash Brothers Symphony.
That would be awesome.
Well, they did.
They did in Japan.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo Power, thankfully, gave us that wonderful CD soundtrack back when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Or junior high, actually.
Yeah, it was junior high.
But, like, why... I mean, because then you can celebrate all of Nintendo's music in, like, one concert, you know? So, I don't know.
Like, block out the Hollywood Bowl or something, like, bigger, you know.
You know, most video game music is on, like, Spotify, YouTube Music, and, like, streaming services. But Nintendo still refuses to make any of their music available there. And a lot of times when it gets uploaded on YouTube and places like that, they copyright strike it all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And YouTube's gotten really strict about that as of late.
I'm sure if we uploaded to YouTube, it would. We would have got it.
Maybe SoundCloud just kind of flew a little more under the radar. You know.
But yeah, crazy experience.
Yeah.
I don't think we might get a symphony orchestra again, but I don't think it's ever going to be like this.
Yeah, it was special.
Yeah.
I mean, with the guests that we had there, I mean, Koji Kondo, I know he was actually just honored at GDC at their big award ceremony with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
Just a few weeks ago, actually. Or not GDC, some other DICE, the DICE Awards.
Oh, yeah.
So he was just here in the States. I looked into going to that dinner where they do the awards, like $1,000 to go.
Wow.
I wish I could have just thrown down $1,000 to attend that, but no, it didn't happen.
We're not that.
I mean, I want Koji Kondo's signature pretty badly, but I'm saving for a home, so, you know.
All right, we good?
I think we're good.
End transmission.